Chapter 121, Killing a Half-Step Emperor Realm Expert. Lu Pingfeng coldly glanced at the evil king and said, "Evil king, are you going to fight for justice and help him?" The evil commanders and evil generals behind the evil king suddenly became incredibly nervous. They were afraid that the evil king's brain would malfunction and he would go to Ding Yu's aid. Bah! The evil king spat in disdain and sneered, "Although I'm righteous, I'm not a busybody. I just happen to despise you. Screw you." Everyone was speechless. The evil king was righteous. Among all of the people present, you killed the most people and did the most evil things. Lu Pingfeng's mouth twitched. He turned around and ignored the evil king. Forget it. The evil king's brain was damaged. He would not stoop to his level. Ding Yu looked around. He was not afraid at all. His eyes were full of disdain. Half-step Emperor Realm cultivators. They're just trash who couldn't break through to the Emperor Realm. Arrogant B** starred. The elder from Nine Swords Mountain snorted. Please reading on mybo.xnovel.com. I have every right to be arrogant. Ding Yu held his sword in his hand. His attitude was cold and arrogant. He looked at the itinerant cultivator. You're an itinerant cultivator, so it can't have been easy for you to cultivate to this level. Are you looking for death? Young man, don't be too arrogant. The itinerant cultivator replied with a gloomy expression. Since you decided to seek death, I, Ding Yu, will kill you first. Ding Yu said calmly. The itinerant cultivator's heart skipped a beat. He immediately comforted himself. Ding Yu was only at the 9th level of the Truth Realm. He was a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator. There was no way he could kill 4 half-step Emperor Realm experts while being surrounded, right? Heavenly Cauldron Mountain. I, Ding Yu, am curious. When have I ever offended your sect? Ding Yu looked at the red-bearded old man and asked doubtfully. Ying Jiangkong is my grandson-in-law. The red-bearded old man snorted. Oh, I understand now. So it's because of your useless grandson-in-law. Ding Yu had a contemptuous look on his face. No wonder Ying Jiangkong is such a piece of trash. His mind is filled with women. It would be strange if he wasn't a piece of trash then. You're courting death. The red-bearded old man was furious. He raised his hand and a stream of flames surged out. The flames transformed into fire crows which swept out in all directions. Ding Yu smiled disdainfully. Old man, your flames are far inferior to my junior brothers. Clang. His sword hummed. Kill. A great battle broke out. The sword gleams and other kinds of attacks spread out in every direction. The sword intent intermingled with raging waves, and the world around them was filled with killing intent. The expressions of the onlookers changed in shock. Ding Yu's sword Dao was stronger than expected. I, Ding Yu, want to reach the peak of the sword Dao. How can you useless half-step Emperor Realm cultivators stop me? Today, I, Ding Yu, will slaughter half-step Emperor Realm experts. Ding Yu's sword gleams swept out, and his sword intent erupted. A long river of sword intent surrounded him, surging toward the 4 experts. His body moved, and a cold gleam flashed. Puff! The itinerant cultivator was injured in the blink of an eye. A stream of blood gushed out of his shoulder and the sword intent raged inside his body, causing further injury. His expression changed immediately. That sword was too fast and too powerful. He could not block it completely. He retreated rapidly. Stop him! Lu Pingfeng waved his folding fan and sharp moonblades swept toward Ding Yu. The red-bearded elder held a huge cauldron in his hand, and flames surged forth as he pounced toward Ding Yu. As for the 9 Swords Mountain elder, he stabbed out with his sword, which almost instantly appeared behind Ding Yu's back. I'll kill you if I want to. No one can stop me. Ding Yu only moved slightly, dodging the 9 Swords Mountain elder's sword, while completely ignoring the red-bearded elders and Lu Pingfeng's attacks. Sword falls over the horizon. The edge of the sword seemed to tear the sky apart. In an instant, it seemed to have reached the end of the world. Endless sword intent gathered on the tip of his sword. The itinerant cultivator's facial expression changed. Spiritual power surged all over his body as he slashed out with the treasured saber in his hand. He sensed an imminent fatal crisis. That sword strike was too powerful. He had a feeling that he would not be able to block it. Even his pseudo-domain shattered. It was the first time since he became a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator that he had felt such a strong sense of crisis. His blood essence erupted as he slashed out with his saber in an attempt to block the attack. Boom! Ding Yu was sent flying by Lu Pingfeng and the red-bearded elder's attacks. His shoulder was also pierced through by the 9 Swords Mountain elder's sword strike from behind. The sword gleam seemed to tear through space. In a flash, Ding Yu's body fell into the distance. As for the itinerant cultivator, his pseudo-domain was shattered and his body was directly sliced in half. A half-step Emperor realm cultivator had fallen. The onlookers were all shocked. Under the siege of 4 half-step Emperor realm cultivators, Ding Yu had actually killed one at the cost of receiving serious injuries. Ahem. Ding Yu coughed twice and sneered, "Ha! I told you that I'd kill you. And I did exactly that. You're overestimating yourselves." The remaining 3 people all looked serious. One of them had fallen. Ding Yu was injured, but not badly enough to cause him to lose the ability to resist. Their hearts beat wildly. They stepped forward and surrounded Ding Yu again. They had to kill him while he was injured. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble in the future. Ding Yu held his longsword and looked at the 3 people with an arrogant expression. He sneered and said, "I can kill one more person. Which one of you wants to die?" Lu Pingfeng's heart trembled when he saw Ding Yu looking at him. He regretted participating in the encirclement. The 9 Swords Mountain Elder looked serious and said, "You two, hold him back for a moment." After saying that, his aura began to gather and condense. Lu Pingfeng and the red-bearded elder felt relieved. It was not a big problem for them to hold Ding Yu back for a moment. The one-sword technique the elder used would naturally be far more powerful than Ying Jiangkong's 9 Swords Mountain's one-sword technique. Ding Yu snickered. He did not seem to be in a rush, nor did it seem like he was in a life-or-death situation. He took out a pill to heal his injuries. He stuffed one pill into his mouth, but felt that it was not enough, so he stuffed another pill into his mouth. "Emperor-level pills," the red-bearded elder exclaimed. The 9 Swords Mountain elder paused and looked at Ding Yu in shock. Lu Pingfeng was equally stunned. Emperor-level pills. Even the Great Qian dynasty did not have many of such pills. The southern region did not have an Emperor realm cultivator, so it was not easy to refine or obtain Emperor-level pills. Even the Heavenly Cauldron Mountain found it hard to refine Emperor-level pills. Each Emperor-level pill would cost a lot. Even the red-bearded elder probably only had one on him. He would not use more than one to save his own life. As for Ding Yu, he directly swallowed 2. "What's the fuss?" Ding Yu had a look of disdain on his face, as if he was looking at some country bumpkins. "Aren't these just Emperor-level pills? These things aren't worth much. My junior brother refines tons of them." As Ding Yu spoke, he even took out a bottle of pills and poured the pills into the palm of his hand. 9 round brown pills that emitted pill halos quietly lay on his palm. "Mid-grade Emperor-level pills." The red-bearded old man cried out again. The spectators in the distance were all shocked when they heard their exclamations. Emperor-level pills. Could it be that Emperor-level pills had been discovered in the ancient ruin? As they were quite far away from the battlefield, and the atmosphere in the ruin was restless, they were not able to see that the Emperor-level pills were in Ding Yu's possession. The red-bearded old man could not remain calm. Low-grade Emperor-level pills were already extremely rare, let alone mid-grade ones. Even the Heavenly Cauldron Mountain did not have many mid-grade Emperor-level pills in their treasury. In addition, the Emperor-level pills in Ding Yu's hands were all high-quality mid-grade pills. As expected of trash, mere mid-grade Emperor-level pills can cause such a commotion. Ding Yu placed the pills back into the bottle. "See, I have quite a few Emperor-level pills with me. Does that make you want to kill me even more? Hurry up and come at me. Hurry up and make your move. That old trash from 9 Swords Mountain, hurry up and use your one-sword technique. Is my hair going to go white before you attack?" Chapter 122. Was there really a problem with his brain? Chu Zan looked at Ding Yu, who was behaving arrogantly and pretentiously. He was speechless, as expected of the son of fate of the southern region. Ding Yu looked miserable, but he had not been seriously injured. Moreover, after taking the Emperor-level pill, his injuries had healed quickly and he recovered to his peak condition. It was not an exaggeration to say that even 2 or 3 half-step Emperor realm experts could not harm Ding Yu. Just consuming a single Emperor-level pill was sufficient to exhaust 1 or 2 of them. Even if he could not win, he would still be able to escape. Chu Zan's disciples had all been taught concealment and escape techniques. If Ding Yu really wanted to escape, even 10 of them would not be sufficient to kill him. The 9 Swords Mountain elder looked gloomy. He did not say a word and continued to gather his aura and sword intent. Lu Pingfeng was still inwardly regretting his decision. He should not have gotten involved. True, he had been called an old cur, and his reputation had been damaged, but what was the big deal? The price of his actions was that he had completely offended Ding Yu. He had a premonition that they would not be able to kill Ding Yu today. What was even more terrifying was, just what kind of expert was Ding Yu's master? Please reading on myboxnovale.com. Those emperor-level pills had been refined by his junior brother. It did not seem like he was lying. Was there actually such a mysterious and powerful expert hiding in the southern region? Could it be that he came here because of the Asura ancient land? The red-bearded old man's face was solemn as he stared at Ding Yu's arrogant face without saying a word. There was no turning back now. It was useless to regret things now. After killing Ding Yu, they would have to face the anger of his master. The southern region's heavenly cauldron mountain's strength was limited. If the other party had truly reached the Emperor realm, they definitely would not be able to withstand his anger. Unless the other party was merciful. However, no matter what, if he killed Ding Yu and provoked an Emperor realm expert, even if the heavenly cauldron mountain was not destroyed, he would definitely die. The Nine Swords Mountain Elder was still gathering his strength. Since Ding Yu was waiting for him to gather his strength, they naturally could not miss this opportunity. Since things had come to this, they could only do their best to kill Ding Yu. Rumble. Suddenly, the ancient ruin shook, and a ray of light shot up into the sky from afar. Ha ha, the evil king's wild laughter could be faintly heard. A supreme treasure had appeared, and it was highly likely that the evil king had obtained it. Not good. Quickly, go explore the ancient ruin. Han Yingmeng's expression changed as she said. She no longer paid attention to the fight. She led the people from the floating flower pavilion and headed deeper into the ancient ruin. Ding Yu took a brief look. The treasure had been obtained by the evil king. How could that be allowed greater than? Although the treasures in the ancient ruin might not be worth his attention, he could not let others have them. He, Ding Yu, had already come. How could he return empty-handed? I won't play with you old farts anymore. I'm going to look for treasures. Ding Yu's figure flashed, leaving behind an afterimage. In an instant, he was already 10,000 feet away, and his figure quickly disappeared without a trace. He was so fast that Lu Pingfeng and the red-bearded elder had no time to stop him. At this moment, the expressions of the three experts changed drastically. Ding Yu had escaped. He had easily escaped from their hands. The speed of his escape and the concealment techniques were completely off the charts. They realized that if Ding Yu wanted to escape, even 10 of them might not be able to stop him, let alone 4. Did he stay around just to kill one of them to establish his prestige? There was a bitter taste in Lu Pingfeng's mouth. He had made a grave mistake. He had offended such an expert. If the other party became enemies with the Great Qian dynasty, it would be troublesome. Fortunately, Ding Yu had a grudge with Nine Swords Mountain, so he would not stand on the Great Qin dynasty's side either. Lu Pingfeng did not know how the Great Qian dynasty's exploration team was doing, but they were in danger. Actually, he was in danger too. It would not be too difficult for Ding Yu to kill him. Ding Yu, who was at the 9th level of the Truth Realm, had already killed one of them. Once he broke through to the half-step Emperor Realm, no one below the Emperor Realm would be his match. Lu Pingfeng even suspected that Ding Yu would not bother with the half-step Emperor Realm, but would directly break through to the Emperor Realm. In short, offending Ding Yu was the biggest mistake of his life. Deep within the ruin, in a dilapidated palace, there was a corpse lying on the ground. Even after so many years, this corpse had not rotted away. It was only slightly withered. From this, it could be seen that the other party had been extremely powerful when he was alive. Furthermore, his physical body was extremely powerful. It was highly likely that he was an expert who specialized in body tempering. After all, the fact that his body had not rotted away after such a long period of time was evidence of his strength. A blade was stuck inside the corpse. The evil king pulled out the blade. The moment the blade left the corpse, the dilapidated palace shook and a ray of light burst forth from the blade. Emperor-level weapon. It was a high-grade Emperor-level weapon. The evil king laughed maniacally in excitement. The two evil commanders who followed the evil king had extremely ugly expressions. He actually laughed maniacally after obtaining the treasure. Why could he not keep a low profile? Chuzan watched the scene where the evil king obtained the Emperor-level weapon through the heaven-spying mirror. He was speechless. The soul seal would not affect one's IQ, right? Why did it feel like there was something wrong with the evil king? It seemed like there was really something wrong with his brain. Could it be that cultivating evil techniques would really cause problems in one's brain? Chuzan naturally would not care about a mere Emperor-level weapon. He looked at the corpse and roughly judged that the other party should have been a Supreme Realm cultivator when he was alive. Moreover, he was a cultivator with a strong body. He recalled some information he had obtained from the Black Moon Tower regarding Bai Sheng Mountain. Bai Sheng Mountain was a sect that specialized in body tempering. It was rumored that they possessed a body tempering technique that was ranked in the top 3 in the southern region. There were not many corpses in the ruin. Most had either been turned into ashes during the Great Battle back then, or had rotted away without a trace over the long years. Even though the Bai Sheng Mountain sect had been destroyed during the Great War back then, they had still left behind countless treasures. Especially the broken Emperor-level weapons, which would be useful as materials for refining other artifacts. There were also many precious medicines growing in a medicinal garden, some of which were extremely rare in the southern region. Moreover, they were all very ancient. Where there were benefits, there would naturally be fights. Chu Zan had already seen a few fights break out over these treasures. The Heavenly Cauldron Mountain fought with Nine Swords Mountain, while the Floating Flower Pavilion fought with the evil Imperial Court, and the other powers fought with a few itinerant cultivators. As for Qin Changfang from the Great Qin Dynasty, he was in an awkward situation. He was weaker, and many people had their eyes on him, especially the Great Qian Dynasty's experts. Had it not been for the protection of Nine Swords Mountain's experts, he would have been killed when he obtained the first treasure. Ding Yu immediately rushed towards the medicinal garden. Cultivation techniques and emperor weapons were worthless to him. So what if there was a heavenly weapon? Could it be compared to his divine sword? He did not lack cultivation and secret techniques, the ones his master gave him were several levels higher even. The spiritual herbs were what he cared about the most. The pocket dimension was rich in resources and contained countless heavenly and earthly treasures, but their consumption of those resources was also rapid. The growth rate of natural treasures would never be as fast as the consumption rate, and Wang Luo's consumption was even greater because he practiced alchemy. Ding Yu immediately located the most ancient herb garden. His speed was extremely fast, so he was the first to arrive. Even though there was a protective barrier that remained, it was easily shattered by him. After so many years, this protective barrier that no one had been maintaining barely had a sliver of power left. With a wave of his hand, jade boxes that were used to store the natural treasures all floated around his body as he quickly picked and plucked the spirit herbs. He began by picking the rarer and more valuable spirit herbs that were older. Chapter 123, Flower of Youth. Chu Zan saw that Ding Yu was the first to pick the spirit herbs, and that his luck was extremely good. He was the first to discover the largest, oldest, and most valuable herb garden. Ding Yu did not lack cultivation techniques or secret techniques, and emperor-level weapons were not even worth his attention. Spirit herbs were naturally his first choice. No matter how many heavenly materials and earthly treasures there were in the pocket dimensions, they would grow slower than the rate at which they were consumed. Replenishing them would take a long time. Therefore, since he now had the opportunity to replenish the pocket dimension's resources here, he naturally would not miss this opportunity. Ding Yu picked about half of them before someone else finally arrived. A graceful figure floated over. Han Yingmeng. Ding Yu drew his longsword and drew a circle around the edge of the medicinal garden. He said, "These are mine. If you dare to take a step past that line, don't blame me for being impolite." Wang Hao consumed a lot of spirit herbs to refine pills. The emperor-level pills he had with him had all been refined by Wang Hao. It was not easy to find a ruin like this either, especially one of such a high level. If he did not bring back a pile of ingredients for pill refinement, how could he make up for all of the pills he ate? This is not your family's territory. Anyone who finds it will have a share. Han Yingmeng became angry when she saw Ding Yu. He was actually so overbearing. She took a step forward and was about to step into the medicinal garden. Ding Yu brandished his sword and was about to make a move. However, on second thought, what if he destroyed the spirit herbs while fighting? He activated his sword technique and shouted in a low voice, "Divide." The treasured sword swayed and instantly transformed into densely packed sword gleam. Each sword gleam was like a real treasured sword. All of the sword gleams instantly formed a ceiling formation around the medicinal garden. Boom! Han Yingmeng waved her delicate hand and a flower petal flew out and smashed onto the sword gleam formation. However, such a powerful attack was actually unable to break through the sword gleams. Han Yingmeng's expression changed slightly. Ding Yu's was actually so strong. If you continue to cause destruction here, I will kill you after I finish picking the spirit herbs. Ding Yu said fiercely. Han Yingmeng was so angry that her pretty face turned red. She cursed Ding Yu 1,000 times in her heart. However, in the end, she did not dare to continue to attack. She finally understood that this B** Ding Yu did not have a soft spot for women at all. After Ding Yu finished picking the spirit herbs in the garden, he sheathed his sword and was about to leave when Han Yingmeng hurriedly said, "Ding Yu, I want a flower of eternal youth." Ding Yu did not even look at her after picking the herbs. He completely ignored her. Han Yingmeng was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Could it be that she was not attractive at all? She could not understand why Ding Yu ignored her beauty. "Why should I give it to you?" Ding Yu took out a flower of eternal youth and looked at her from the corner of his eyes. Han Yingmeng took a few deep breaths and forced herself to calm down. She gritted her teeth and said, "I'll give you something in exchange." Had it been any other young male cultivator who had obtained the flower of eternal youth, not only would she not have to ask, the cultivator would probably have run over and offered it to her immediately. However, Ding Yu, that B** had completely ignored her. "What do you want to exchange for it?" If it was something good, Ding Yu would not mind exchanging the flower for it. The flower was precious, but also useless. If it was not something that most cultivators could use. Its main function was to make its user feel young and beautiful, never aging. It was very attractive to women. After all, no matter how high one's cultivation level was, once they were stuck at a certain realm for a long time, their lifespan would be greatly depleted, and they would age. In fact, even under other certain special circumstances, they would age. The flower of youth could make its user look youthful and beautiful, and it could also resist those special circumstances that would make one's face age. New novels chapters are published n. Its effect on men was average, but it would have a miraculous effect on women. Therefore, it was both precious and somewhat useless at the same time. A pained expression flashed across Han Yingmeng's face. She took out a jade bottle and poured out a medicinal pill into her tender white palm. "I'll trade it for this medicinal pill." Ding Yu looked at the medicinal pill in her palm. It was a low-grade emperor-level pill. Moreover, it was not a particularly high-quality pill. Wang Luo had long stopped refining pills of this level, so Ding Yu had been spoiled rotten. He did not even bother taking a second look. He silently took out a bottle of pills and poured them into his palm. There were 9 middle-grade emperor-level pills in total there, and they were high-quality middle-grade emperor-level pills. "Your pill isn't worth anything. Are you going to use something else in exchange instead?" Han Yingmeng's beautiful eyes widened, and her face was filled with shock. She finally understood that the red-bearded old man's exclamation about the emperor-level pills was not because he had discovered emperor-level pills in the ancient ruin. He was simply shouting because of the pills that were in Ding Yu's hand earlier. This was too extravagant. Han Yingmeng's eyes were red. Were it not for the fact that she could not beat Ding Yu, she would not have been able to resist the urge to beat the living daylights out of him and snatch those pills. She had originally thought that one emperor-level pill could be exchanged for the flower of youth. In the end, she found out that she had been made to look like a clown. Shamefaced, she stored the pill away. "So, what do you want to offer in exchange instead?" Ding Yu did not even fancy the emperor-level pill, so what else could she offer? Had this been another man, there were still some other methods she could employ. However, those methods would not work on Ding Yu, this B***. Ding Yu stored the pills back into the bottle and said, "You are Floating Flower Pavilion's holy maiden, so you should have quite a few spirit herbs, right? Take them out. If there's anything I like, I'll exchange those for this flower." Han Yingmeng took out all of the spirit herbs she had on her. Each of them was precious, but a little inferior in terms of age. Ding Yu had just picked a bunch of ancient spirit herbs, so how could he take a fancy to these little medicinal herbs of hers? It looked like she was going to lose the opportunity to preserve her youth. Han Yingmeng's heart ached. Barely enough. Ding Yu took a look. As the holy maiden of the Floating Flower Pavilion, Han Yingmeng still had some treasures. There were a few unique and relatively rare spirit herbs. He stretched out his hand and took all of Han Yingmeng's spirit herbs. He then threw a flower of youth over to her. "Forget it, I'm making a loss here, so count it as my gift to you." From Ding Yu's perspective, the flower of youth was not as valuable as these rare spirit herbs. After all, the effect of the flower of youth was very simple and straightforward. It was only valued by women. Han Yingmeng was overjoyed and hurriedly stored the flower of youth into a jade box carefully. "As the holy maiden of the Floating Flower Pavilion, you're too poor. You're really poor." Ding Yu looked at her with disdain and left in a flash. He continued to explore the ancient ruin. Han Yingmeng was so angry that her face turned green. This was too disgraceful. She wanted nothing more than to kill him with one punch. Inside the ancient ruin, battles were constantly taking place because of treasures. Even 2 experts at the 9th level of the Truth Realm had fallen. Chuzan was observing the action through the heaven spying mirror. So far, no treasures that were worth a second look had appeared. Ding Yu's harvest was not bad though. As a son of fate, his luck was indeed extraordinary. He was very successful in his exploration of the ancient ruin. Treasures that others could not find seemed to just be waiting for Ding Yu to appear. After watching for half a day, Chuzan deactivated the heaven spying mirror and turned his attention to something else. The exploration of the ancient ruin was not something that could be completed in a day or two. Some places still had remnants of the killing intent and destruction of the Great Battle, and there were even powerful restrictions around those places. There were still some dangers in the ruin. The inheritance left behind by the Bai Sheng mountain sect was most likely a body tempering technique. To others, this might be extremely precious. However, to Ding Yu, it was completely unattractive. No matter how strong Bai Sheng Mountain's body tempering technique was, it was far cry from the firmament sword body. Chapter 124, Secret Behind the Asura Ancient Land. 10 days later, the exploration of Bai Sheng Mountain's ancient ruin was still ongoing, although large-scale battles were less frequent now. During this period, Ding Yu had been ambushed by an expert from Nine Swords Mountain. He directly killed his opponent with a single sword strike. Up till now, the person who had reaped the most rewards was none other than Ding Yu. The remaining people simultaneously headed towards the core of the ancient ruin, breaking the restrictions and traps along the way. Chuzan looked over the battlefield within the Bai Sheng Mountain ruin and frowned. The destruction of Bai Sheng Mountain did not seem to have had anything to do with the demon race. The Bai Sheng Mountain sect had not been destroyed by the demon race's invasion. Up until now, he had not seen any demon corpses. There were also no traces of demonic aura that should have been present after the Great War. The Bai Sheng Mountain sect had been destroyed by a human faction. According to the timeline, the destruction of the Bai Sheng Mountain sect had happened during the Great War. Was it the Great Qin's doing, or had it been done by another faction? Which faction did the Bai Sheng Mountain sect belong to? Unfortunately, there was not much information about Bai Sheng Mountain in the Black Moon Tower's records. None of the information mentioned which faction the Bai Sheng Mountain sect belonged to. After all, the destruction of Bai Sheng Mountain had happened so long ago, so much of the information had been lost to the river of time. Even the Great Qin Empire, which had once unified the southern region, had been erased from existence, much less some smaller sect like the Bai Sheng Mountain sect. The speed at which Buddha Nanwu refined his golden body was much faster than he had expected. It was done. Greetings, Buddha. Buddha Nanwu put his palms together and bowed. Chuzan nodded and asked him to sit. Let's talk about the ancient demons. Chuzan was incredibly excited. He was finally going to find out about the secrets of the ancient demons. This included the question of whether or not there were human traders who had lured the demons into invading the southern region. Yes, Buddha. To Buddha Nanwu, his identity as a member of the demon race had already become a thing of the past. He was now a Buddha, not a demon. Back then, there were human experts who entered the demon zone to look for us. Chuzan narrowed his eyes. So it was true that when the demon race invaded the southern region back then, it was caused by human traders. Following Buddha Nanwu's explanation, Chuzan gained some understanding of the demon race and the demon zone. The demon race was a generic term. In fact, there were many branches of demons, as well as many factions among them. Some of the living beings of the demon race still existed in the form of tribes. The demon faction that Buddha Nanwu belonged to was one of the more powerful ones. He was the chief elder of this demon faction, and was a cultivator at the 8th level of the heaven realm. One day, a human expert entered the demon zone and contacted the higher-ups of the demon race. The expert said that he could help them invade the northern zone and southern region. After they occupied the southern region, they could use it as a springboard to seize the northern zone. The higher-ups of the demon race were tempted. The human race had monopolized 5 zones, so the demon race was naturally dissatisfied with this. They had always wanted to expand their territory. However, the human race was strong, so they had never found an appropriate opportunity. The northern zone was considered one of the weaker zones among the 5 zones of the human race. The human race had occupied the northern zone for the longest time, and had erected some barriers that made it difficult for the demon race to invade. However, if they had inside help it would be much easier for them to invade. They would be able to occupy the northern zone before the other 4 zones controlled by the human race could react and send aid. Even if they could not occupy the entire northern zone, they would easily be able to occupy 1 or 2 regions. Once they did, they could open up a path to the demon zone. With the demon zone providing support, unless the humans wanted to start an all-out war, they would enter a standoff. The higher-ups of the demon race agreed to the human experts' request and made preparations to invade the southern region. Buddha Nanwu was one of the leaders of the demon race who had invaded the southern region. When the demon experts invaded the southern region, they realized that this was a conspiracy. Some human experts had wanted to use the demon race to destroy the Great Qin Empire and wreak havoc on the humans of the northern zone. Later on, we found out that this whole thing was a scheme that targeted the humans of the northern zone as well as the demons. Chuzan frowned. A scheme that targeted both humans and demons. Was it a scheme devised by other races? No, it was a scheme devised by a human expert. Nanwu Buddha shook his head. Chuzan did not understand. Since it was a scheme devised by a human expert, why was it targeted at both the humans and the demons? Buddha, there is no human king in the northern zone. Buddha Nanwu said. Of course, Chuzan knew that there had never been a human king in the northern zone. This was related to the history of the northern zone. The first zone that the human race occupied had been the northern zone and, because it had never been unified, there had never been a human king. The other 4 zones had all been unified by human experts. After generations of struggling, they suppressed the alien races and turned those zones into the territory of the human race. As such, in the course of history, after being unified, the other 4 zones obeyed the orders of the human kings and their descendants. A thought flashed through Chuzan's mind as he took a deep breath, and said, "Do you mean that the human expert in question wanted to be the first human king of the northern zone?" Yes. Buddha Nanwu nodded. Who was it that wanted to become the first human king of the northern zone? The first person Chuzan thought of was Great Qin's emperor, Qin Ying. He had unified the southern region. So, the invasion of the demons was to stop Qin Ying from unifying the northern zone and becoming the first human king of the northern zone. The invasion of the demons was to stop Qin Ying from becoming the human king. Chuzan asked curiously. It was a battle between humans and the kings of other regions. Buddha Nanwu put his palms together and said, Buddha, Qin Ying is just one part of the battle between the humans and those kings. Chuzan had never expected that the secret of the demon race invasion would involve a battle between humans and the kings of the regions in the northern zone. Who was the other party? A human divine realm expert. Chuzan was shocked. It involved a divine realm expert. Was Qin Ying a divine realm expert when he was at his peak? According to my demon race's investigation, the battle for the position of human king. Buddha Nanwu slowly explained the secret behind the invasion of the southern region. There was a certain divine realm expert of the human race. In order to improve his cultivation base, he devised the demon race invasion plan, which would put the southern region and the human race of the entire northern zone in a perilous situation. His ultimate goal was to make a move when the human race in the northern zone was in critical danger. He wanted to turn the tide and become the human king. By acquiring the luck related to being the first human king in the northern zone, he hoped to surpass the divine realm and step into a higher realm. Qin Ying's ambition was not limited to just conquering the southern region. He wanted to unify the northern zone and become the human king. However, Qin Ying walked the orthodox path. He controlled countless sects and forces, and tried to unify the northern zone and establish the first empire to rule the entire northern zone. He would then become the first human king in the northern zone. In the end, Qin Ying discovered the plan of that divine realm expert. In order to prevent the human race from succumbing to the upcoming disaster, he decided to make a move. He joined forces with some experts of the northern zone to intercept the invading experts of the demon race. He even leveraged the fate of the southern region to condense a fate treasure that fell into a spatial crack after the battle. The southern region was not alone. There were also experts from the western, northern, eastern, and central regions who seized a portion of the fate of their various regions and condensed them into fate treasures as well. They destroyed the plan of the human divine realm expert. Qin Ying and the other experts died at the start of the battle, but they had also successfully dealt a heavy blow to the invading demon army. Only a small number of demon experts successfully invaded the southern region, which resulted in the Great War. In the end, because the demon race also had a divine realm expert, that human divine realm expert made a move. After that battle, the entire battlefield was trapped in a spatial zone. The southern region's fate, which had been condensed into a supreme treasure, also disappeared. This caused the southern region's ley lines to collapse. The laws of heaven and earth became incomplete, resulting in its current barren state. Chapter 125. Fate Treasures, Battle to Become the Human King. Chuzan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He had once lied to Du Yuan that the southern region's waters ran deep. He had never thought that his words would turn out to be true. The southern region's waters truly ran quite deep. This matter involved divine realm experts. At that moment, Chuzan finally understood why the Great Qin Empire, which had even managed to unify the southern region, had been erased from history. Very few people knew about this. Moreover, the information that had been left behind was nearly non-existent. Even if the Great Qian dynasty wanted to erase the information about the Great Qin Empire, it would not have been able to do so. After all, the Great Qian dynasty had not unified the southern region. The reason why the Great Qin Empire had been erased from history was because Qin Ying had used the fate of the Great Qin Empire, which had unified the southern region, and condensed it into a fate treasure to use in the battle. Thanks to this, the southern region's laws of heaven and earth were shattered and the ley lines were destroyed. The Asura ancient lands situation was quite complex, and even someone at the heaven realm might not be able to fully grasp or control the situation. Chuzan felt a bit of pressure. He had to quickly increase his strength. When the Asura ancient land opened, he had to have at least reached the divine realm. Otherwise, how could he control the situation? Please reading on myboxnoval.com. There are 5 fate treasures of the northern zone in the Asura ancient land. Is everyone targeting the fate treasures of the northern zone? Chuzan now roughly understood the situation in the Asura ancient land. It involved the fate treasures of the northern zone. Yes, Buddha Nanwu said, whoever obtains the fate treasures of the northern zone's 5 regions will obtain the fate of the northern zone. They will have the opportunity to become the human king of the northern zone. Does the demon race also have a plan? Yes. What is it? This was a secret of the demon race, but it had nothing to do with Buddha Nanwu now. He was a Buddha, not a demon. The soul of that elder of the demon race who died in the battle reincarnated. He will participate in the battle when the Asura ancient land opens. Chuzan's heart skipped a beat. As expected, how could a divine realm expert die so easily? It was just a setup. Therefore, that human divine realm expert had definitely also reincarnated. Qin Ying had also reincarnated. He was reincarnated in the Luo family of the Human King's family in the Eastern Zone. He wanted to leverage the power of the Human King's family to kill his way back to the southern region and seize the fate treasures. In that case, that human divine realm expert also had to have a force supporting him. What about the divine realm elder of the demon race? Was he borrowing the power of the human race or the demon race? Many thoughts flashed through Chuzan's mind. At the same time, he analyzed which side the current various powers in the southern region belonged to. Currently, there were 3 sides participating in the battle. These were Qin Ying, the human divine realm expert, and the divine realm demon race elder. It was unknown if any other forces were involved. 9 Swords Mountain and the Great Qin dynasty were undoubtedly on Qin Ying's side. Was the Great Qian dynasty part of that human divine realm expert's plan? What about the evil imperial court? Were they related to the divine realm elder of the demon race? Where did the elder of the demon race reincarnate? I don't know. Buddha Nanwu shook his head. Chuzan thought about it. It made sense. How could the reincarnation of a divine realm be revealed to others? The waters in the southern region were really deep and complicated. He raised his head and examined the recovery speed of the laws of heaven and earth in the southern region. By his calculations, there were still around 30 to 40 years before the Asura ancient land would open. As for whether or not it would open in advance, he had no way to predict that. Qin Ying was only in the Emperor realm now. He definitely would not be able to recover to his peak cultivation level by the time the Asura ancient land opened. Hence, there had to be a cultivation limit or restriction when it came to obtaining the fate treasures. Are there cultivation restrictions or limitations around the Asura ancient land or the fate treasures? Yes, Buddha Nanwu nodded. Those above the Emperor realm cannot participate. If one's cultivation exceeds the Emperor realm, the fate treasure will not recognize them as its master. Chuzan understood now. A fate treasure was only effective on those with weaker cultivation levels. The strong would determine their own fate. The fate treasure would not recognize them as its master or, even if it did, its effect would be limited. Perhaps this was also a restriction of the Great Tao. The Great Qin's emperor is indeed worthy of being the ruler of the southern region. Nanwu Buddha sighed in admiration. The Asura ancient land had been set up by Qin Ying. He had used the fate treasure to stop the human divine realm expert's plan. He had also dragged the battle for the fate treasures and the battle for the position of human king from the ancient times until now. He had lowered the cultivation levels of his competitors to the emperor realm. Qin Ying had also reincarnated into the human king's Luo family. He would rely on the power of the Luo family to fight his way back to the southern region to fight for the fate of the northern zone and the position of human king. Would the Luo family support him? They would definitely support him. After all, Qin Ying was now a direct descendant of their family who possessed a pure bloodline. His previous life was no longer an important factor. Moreover, Qin Ying possessed the human king's Dao weapon, and they had a deep relationship. The Luo family would definitely support Qin Ying and fight for the fate treasures of the northern zone and participate in the fight for the human king position. Once Qin Ying won, the Luo family would have another human king among their ranks. After thinking this through, Chuzan could not help but sigh. Qin Ying was indeed worthy of his position as the emperor of the great Qin Empire. That human divine realm expert definitely hated Qin Ying with a passion. Chuzan stood on Qin Ying's side. After all, on the latter's journey to becoming the human king, he had walked the path of righteous unification. This was in contrast to that human divine realm expert, who actually wanted to wreak havoc on the human race of the northern zone before coming out to save the day, using this self-created disaster as an opportunity to become the human king. If that expert's plan failed, the demon race would occupy a large portion of the northern zone's territory. Also, regardless of whether he succeeded or not, the people in the northern zone would bear the brunt of that calamity. Chuzan resented anyone who used such dirty methods to achieve their objectives. Moreover, Chuzan felt that the other party would definitely not be able to become the human king with such dirty methods. How strong was Qin Ying back then? Chuzan asked. Since Qin Ying had set up such a grand scheme to delay the battle until his next life, his strength was definitely inferior to that of that human divine realm expert. Otherwise, given Qin Ying's personality, he would have long used every means available to kill him. Peak heaven realm, comparable to a demigod. Nanwu Buddha put his palms together. As expected, as someone who was able to unify the southern region, there was no way he would be weak. Peak heaven realm, comparable to a demigod. In the absence of a divine realm expert, Qin Ying was practically invincible. He was definitely one of the strongest cultivators in the northern zone. Whether it was his strength or methods, he was extremely powerful and capable. As someone who was able to unify the southern region, he naturally had his own strengths. Furthermore, Qin Ying was able to get many experts to cooperate with him to go against that human divine realm expert. From this, it could be seen that he had personality and charm. The Asura ancient land contained the fated treasures. It was a battle to become a human king. Chuzan finally understood the true secret behind the Asura ancient land. Why did all the major powers seal off the southern region? Why was there no Emperor Realm cultivator in the southern region? As for the one Emperor Realm cultivator they did let in, he was a useless piece of trash. That was why he was allowed to enter the southern region. The southern region was barren because it had lost a large amount of fate. If the southern region's fate treasure returned, then the southern region would definitely regain its vitality and return to its peak condition. This was not limited to just the southern region. The other four regions had also lost a portion of their fate. This was probably the reason why the northern zone was relatively weaker compared to the other four zones. Fate might sound illusory, but it was extremely mysterious and vital. Ding Yu was the son of fate of the southern region. What would happen if he obtained the southern region's fate treasure? The new and old fate would merge and the southern region would rise. Would Ding Yu then become the number one person in the southern region? Wang Luo was the son of fate of the northern region. Xiao Liang was the son of fate of the western region. What about the central and eastern regions? Had the son of the fate of their current generation been born? Chapter 126. I want to be the master of the human king. At this moment, Chuzan felt as if the fog had been lifted and he could see the truth. Ding Yu carried the fate of the southern region and was its son of fate. Wang Luo and Xiao Liang were the same for their respective regions. The other unknown people from the other two regions were also the same. They were all born due to those fate treasures. It was one of the mysteries of the northern zone and they were destined to find the lost fate treasures. Generally speaking, if nothing unexpected happened, the fight for the fate treasures would take place among Ding Yu and the other children of fate. There was even a high possibility that the fate treasures would fall into their hands. However, the situation surrounding the Asura ancient land was complex. Even though they were children of fate, it would not be easy for them to obtain the fate treasures. Chuzan knew that Qin Ying had a contingency plan prepared to obtain the fate treasure of the southern region. The other 4 regions' fate treasures were there too. How could the human divine realm expert not be aware of this? How could the demon race divine realm elder not be aware of this? All 3 groups had made preparations to participate in the battle for the position of the human king. In that sense, one could only say that their confidence was grounded in their efforts and plans. Chuzan already knew where Qin Ying reincarnated. The latter wanted to borrow the power of the Luo family. What about the demon race divine realm elder? Please reading on myboxnoval.com. Was the evil imperial court related to the demon race expert? What about the human divine realm expert? Of the 5 regions of the northern zone, the children of fate from 3 regions were related to Chuzan. If he could take all of the children of fate from the 5 regions as his disciples. Chuzan was very tempted. If he could nurture the first human king in the northern zone, would not such an achievement trigger the system's rewards? The rewards from such a monumental feat would definitely be extremely generous, right? He had to control the situation in the Asura ancient land. Chuzan made a decision in his heart. No matter what, the 5 regions' fate treasures could not fall into the hands of the human divine realm expert or that demon race divine realm elder. He had to be the one that decided the battle for the northern zone's human king. The one who ascended and became the northern zone's human king had to be one of his own people. He would be the mastermind behind the scenes, the master of the human king. However, if he wanted to control the situation surrounding the Asura ancient land, he had to first become strong enough. In fact, even reaching the divine realm might not be enough. The title of the first human king of the northern zone was something that probably tempted countless people and factions. He had a premonition that people from the other 4 zones would participate. There might be divine realm experts supporting those participants as well. Although divine realm experts had not appeared in this era, except in historical records and legends, it did not mean that all of the divine realm experts from ancient times were dead. There were definitely divine realm experts hidden in the ancient desolate zone. Moreover, this zone was the most mysterious and vast one of the 9 zones. He had to increase his strength as soon as possible. Fortunately, there were still 34 years before the Asura ancient land opened, so he still had plenty of time. After understanding the secrets behind the Asura ancient land, Chuzan allowed Buddha Nanwu to cultivate. The latter had condensed his Buddhist golden body and recovered his peak strength. His aptitude and talent had both increased. The door to the divine realm was now unlocked. Chuzan picked out some Buddhist techniques from the 3 Lives Buddhist scripture and passed them to Buddha Nanwu. These would help him to break through to the divine realm before the Asura ancient land opened. This way, Chuzan would have divine realm subordinates to do his bidding, and he would be able to control the entire situation. No matter who came to participate in the fight for the fate treasures or the fight for the position of the northern zone's human king, the winner had to be someone under him. It was time for Qin Ying to be groomed. His chances of victory were still very high. Chuzan would take him in as an in-name disciple. Although he looked young, he was actually an old monster. Since Qin Ying had been looking for a domineering body tempering technique, Chuzan would teach him one. The battle for the human king in the northern region. In terms of talent, Ding Yu and Wang Luo were not suitable to become the human king. They did not have the necessary charisma, nor did they have the kind of domineering aura that could strike awe into the inhabitants of the entire territory. Only Qin Ying had these qualities. After all, he was once an overlord who unified the southern region. He had even wanted to unify the northern zone. Qin Ying was now a woman, so even if his consciousness was that of a man, it could not change the fact that he was biologically a woman. Of all the human kings of the past generations, there had not been a single female human king, right? Thinking this, Chuzan became excited. He would nurture the first female human king of the human race. What kind of monumental achievement was that? The system's reward for achieving this would not disappoint him for sure. However, Qin Ying was only one of the candidates. Ren Cheng was about to break through to the divine realm, and would do so in time to participate in the Asura ancient land. At that time, he would ask Ren Cheng to come. Ren Cheng, who cultivated the yin-yang god combination seal, and had comprehended the Tao of yin-yang and the Tao of life and death, would definitely not be weak. Moreover, when he had been in the heaven realm, he was already unparalleled among cultivators in the same realm. In the 5 regions of the northern zone, there were 2 children of fate that were not under his control. Although Su Shan'er came from the central region, she was not the central region's daughter of fate. Chu Zan wondered, could he get his hands on those children of fate? It would probably be quite difficult. The waters in the southern region indeed ran a little deep. It had been a long time since he contacted Du Yuan. It was time for him to make his way to the southern region. Du Yuan, who was already at the 4th level of the Supreme Realm, was not weak. He cultivated the concealment technique passed down by Chu Zan, so it would not be a big problem for him to pass through the blockade and enter the southern region. It was time to remove the myriad heavenly mirrors mark on Du Yuan's body in case he needed it later. He immediately took out the myriad heavenly mirror and contacted Du Yuan. Your Excellency, Du Yuan greeted him respectfully. You can head to the southern region now and wait for the right opportunity. Remember not to expose yourself. Yes, Your Excellency. Chu Zan gave him a few more instructions. At the same time, he gave him a communication talisman. When Du Yuan arrived in the southern region, if he needed the latter's assistance, someone would send a message. After ending the connection with Du Yuan, he retrieved the mark. The myriad heavenly mirror could now mark someone or someplace else. The myriad heavenly mirror only had 3 positioning marks, which Chu Zan felt was far too few. Chu Zan speculated that after he broke through to the heaven realm, and gained the ability to transport living things, the number of positioning marks would naturally increase. It was time to meet Qin Ying. It was time to put on a show again. The position of the human king of the northern region was nothing. The situation couldn't be too small. He should focus on the position of the emperor. The position of human king of the northern zone was only the starting point. As for whether Qin Ying could ascend to those heights or not, that was not important at the moment. He had to deceive him first. The 7-colored divine light was activated. The heaven-shaking divine image appeared, and the myriad law's Taoist robe was enveloped by the great Tao's charm. One look would be enough for anyone to tell that he was a supreme existence that had surpassed the divine realm. The myriad heavenly mirror soon connected to Qin Ying's location. In the image projection, Qin Ying was sitting cross-legged on a large rock on the cliff. His brows were tightly furrowed, and he looked rather worried. Qin Ying had already broken through to the 4th level of the Emperor realm. His cultivation speed was not slow. Chu Zan estimated that once he broke through to the 9th level of the Emperor realm, he would suppress his cultivation base and would not break through again until the Asura ancient land opened. Those who surpassed the Emperor realm would be excluded from the competition for the Fate Supreme treasures. Qin Ying was very distressed. He had still been unable to find a powerful body tempering technique. For the sake of obtaining a powerful body tempering technique, he had even stooped so low as to deceive Zhu Yuan by with a few sentences. The latter had been so enthralled that he had rushed off to look for a body tempering technique for Qin Ying immediately. However, in the end, the body tempering technique he found was still lacking in terms of domineering aura. His talent and aptitude in this life was not poor. He had the blood of the human king running through his veins, and he had even cultivated the ultimate technique of the human king's Luo family. However, he was still unable to reach the peak combat strength he had in his previous life. He knew that as long as he cultivated a domineering body tempering technique, his strength would surpass that of his previous life. Only then would he have the confidence to win the fight for the Fate Supreme treasures. Even if he had a contingency plan to obtain the Fate Supreme treasure, such a long time had passed, who knew if the contingency plan would work? He was up against a Divine Realm expert. There was no way the methods and plans of a Divine Realm expert would be easy to deal with. Chapter 127, Deceiving Qin Ying. Qin Ying sighed. Even if he borrowed the power of the Luo family, he was not 100% sure that he could win this battle. There were many people eyeing the position of the human king of the northern zone. Even if he could not become the human king, simply obtaining the fate treasure would be a great achievement. The opening of the Asura ancient land this time would not only involve his enemies and friends from his previous life, but other forces attracted by the fate treasures and the position of the human king as well. Moreover, in order to convince the Luo family to fully support him, he would have to demonstrate sufficient strength, and that he had the means to succeed. In this life, he was a woman. Had it not been for the fact that his big brother had already surpassed the Emperor realm, the Luo family would not have supported him with this many resources. Everything in this world depended on strength and means. No matter what, he had to find a powerful body tempering technique. Only by reaching the peak of his previous life's combat strength would he have the confidence in emerging victorious in the battle. Qin Ying's bare minimum was that he had to retrieve the fate treasure of the southern region. As long as the other party could not gather all of the fate treasures of the 5 regions, he would not be able to become the human king. Qin Ying was not willing to give up. The first human king of the northern zone could not be a traitor who tried to stir up a bloody storm and destroy the human race. Back then, he had joined hands with the experts of the northern zone to dismantle the traitor's conspiracy. Qin Ying lowered his head to look at his body and sighed. How should he face his brothers in this life? Please reading on myboxnovel.com. Suddenly, a circle of rippling light appeared in the air. Qin Ying stood up and grabbed his halberd. Was there another assassin? Who would dare to assassinate him in the Luo family's territory? Someone could actually break through the Luo family's defenses and sneak in. Ripples continued to spread out as an image projection appeared. Qin Ying was shocked by the sudden appearance of what he saw. His beautiful eyes widened and his small mouth opened slightly. When Chu Zan saw Qin Ying's current appearance, the corners of his mouth could not help but twitch. Whenever he thought about how this peerless beauty was actually a man, he always felt strangely uncomfortable. Even though Qin Ying's appearance was extremely beautiful and alluring, he could barely bring himself to look at him. Chu Zan's heaven-shaking figure was bathed in 7-colored divine light, and the charm of the great Tao surrounded his body. What kind of expert was this? Qin Ying was incredibly shocked. Even a divine realm expert was vastly inferior to this mysterious person. Luo Ying greets Senior. Qin Ying was an old monster and the famous Great Qin Emperor after all, so he managed to immediately calm himself down and bow respectfully. This was the Luo family's territory, yet the person in front of him had used some sort of mysterious technique to come here. His strength was unfathomable. Could this person be the Luo family's king? The Luo family's king had disappeared countless years ago in his previous life, just like the other legendary experts. If this person was not the Luo family's king, who else could it be? Luo Ying. Chu Zan laughed and said, "Are you Luo Ying or Qin Ying?" Qin Ying's expression changed. How did the other party know his identity? Countless years had passed since he reincarnated. After such a long period of time, given the assistance of the human king's Tao artifact, no one should have been able to discover his identity. No one knew that he would reincarnate into the human king's Luo family. None of his brothers back then knew either. Who are you? Kid, don't be so nervous. I can see through anyone's background easily. Chu Zan chuckled lightly, exuding the demeanor of a senior expert. Our meeting is fated. Meeting me is your great fortune. Qin Ying took a deep breath. The other party was able to see through his background so easily, completely ignoring the powers of the human king's Tao artifact. From this, it could be seen just how powerful the other party was. He was definitely in existence above the divine realm. May I ask if Senior is the Luo family's king? Qin Ying thought about it. The other party was very likely to be the Luo family's king. That was probably why the human king's Tao artifact had not warned him and did not obstruct the other party's probing. After all, the human king's Tao artifact was the property of the Luo family's king. If this person was the Luo family's king, then this would really be a great opportunity. Qin Ying was excited. If he obtained the recognition of the Luo family's king, the entire Luo family would dote on him. Thinking back, he did have some connection with the Luo family's king. Luo family's king. Chu Zan chuckled and said, "Many years ago, I did indeed come across that little fellow. He's quite talented." Qin Ying's heart trembled. The Luo family's king was a little fellow in this person's eyes. "Senior, you are." "I'm me." Chu Zan seemed to be immersed in his memories. He paused for a moment, and then said, "It was a long time ago, but countless little fellows in the myriad realms all called me the Eternal, Immortal, Handsome, Unparalleled, Mighty, Virtuous, Supreme and Holy #1 Tao Master in the myriad realms." What an awe-inspiring name. Qin Ying was stunned when he heard that. When he looked at this mysterious person, whose might could shake the heavens, and who could weave the great Tao into clothes, he did not have the slightest bit of doubt. As an expert who had once comprehended the great Tao, he deeply understood how terrifying it was for someone to be able to weave the great Tao into clothes. He was once a peak heaven realm expert, and had only begun to comprehend the great Tao. But what about the figure in front of him? This person weaved the great Tao into a robe and wore it. From this, one could see how terrifying this expert was. It was a great opportunity. Qin Ying's heart began to beat violently. Qin Ying pays his respects to the incomparably handsome, mighty, and virtuous supreme sage. Qin Ying quickly knelt down. Chu Zan was very satisfied with his performance. Qin Ying was very decisive and directly knelt down. Chuzan opened his mouth and said, "This Venerable one slept for a while and woke up recently. Your meeting with me can be considered fated. I'll make an exception and accept you as an in-name disciple. Are you willing?" Qin Ying was stunned. In-name disciple, he was so talented, and possessed the bloodline of a human king, yet he was only qualified to be an in-name disciple. "Do you think you deserve better?" "I wouldn't dare," Qin Ying said hurriedly. Qin Ying greets master. Qin Ying hurriedly kowtowed 3 times respectfully. In-name disciples were in-name disciples. Senior did not take him in as a true disciple because he was not talented enough. However, becoming the in-name disciple of such an existence was also a great opportunity in itself. Qin Ying was very decisive. When the opportunity came knocking, he would grasp it tightly. Given time and effort, an in-name disciple could also become a true disciple. Now that he had successfully accepted Qin Ying as an in-name disciple, there would be one more person under him who could participate in the fight for the position of the Northern Zone's human king. Moreover, the Asura ancient land had been planned and devised by Qin Ying. The probability of him emerging victorious was the greatest. "Since you are now my disciple, do you have any requests?" Chuzan asked. He was very curious as to whether Qin Ying would directly ask him to help him ascend to the position of human king and kill his enemies. "Master, your disciple is lacking a body tempering technique." Qin Ying immediately thought of the body tempering technique that he had been searching high and low for. "Is that your only request?" Chuzan said meaningfully, "Perhaps you would like to discuss that trap that you set up." Qin Ying's heart trembled. His master was too terrifying. He even knew about this. "Dear master, I, Qin Ying, have never relied on others for power in my life. I will not lose to others in the same realm. I will personally take back what belongs to me, and I will personally take revenge," Qin Ying said domineeringly, as expected of the great Qin Emperor, the peerless overlord who had once unified the southern region. He was indeed bold and courageous. "I'm glad that you have such courage and insight." Chuzan looked very pleased and said, "Since you've become my disciple, I can guarantee that you will only fight others of the same realm there. I will keep the big shots away from you. However, whether or not you emerge victorious is completely down to your own efforts and capabilities." Chapter 128, Tyrant Dragon Body Technique. Qin Ying was overjoyed. "Thank you, master." He had never lost to anyone in the same realm. The only thing he was worried about in this fight for the Fate Supreme treasures was that human divine realm expert. If that expert had surpassed the Emperor realm, but was not allowed to interfere, then there was nothing for him to be afraid of. He would definitely retrieve the Fate Supreme treasure. He would definitely kill his enemies. "This is your fate," Chuzan said indifferently. "You also wanted a body tempering technique. This Venerable one has countless such techniques, but they are all too powerful for you in your current state. You can't cultivate them. Even the so-called divine realm experts that you are talking about aren't able to cultivate these." He was just messing with him. Of course, Chuzan was just bragging. Qin Ying was shocked. Body tempering techniques that even divine realm experts could not cultivate, how powerful were those techniques? Chuzan thought for a while, and then said, "I have 3 body tempering techniques that I created in my younger days. They are a bit trashy, but they happen to be just right for you to practice at your level." The corners of Qin Ying's mouth twitched. Trashy body tempering techniques were just right for him to practice. Still, the body tempering techniques that Master mentioned should be very powerful, right? These 3 body tempering techniques are the 30 feet golden body technique, the 100 battle demon body technique, and the tyrant dragon body technique. You can choose one. The 30 feet golden body technique was a body tempering technique that belonged to the Buddhist sect. It was a body tempering technique recorded in the 3 Lives Buddhist scripture. The 100 battle demon Nadi technique was a body tempering technique that the system had rewarded him with some time back. The same was true for the tyrant dragon body technique. Chuzan was only using the first 2 techniques to make up the numbers. The one he wanted to pass on to Qin Ying was the tyrant dragon body technique. He believed that Qin Ying would also choose this body tempering technique. After all, he had always been looking for a domineering body tempering technique. The tyrant dragon body technique was undoubtedly domineering. When it was cultivated to completion, it would allow its user to exude fierce dragon might, and it could even condense dragon armor which would attach itself to the user's body. Divine weapons could not penetrate this armor. "Master, I choose the tyrant dragon body technique." As expected, Qin Ying did not hesitate at all and immediately chose the tyrant dragon body technique. When this technique is cultivated to completion, it will allow you to exude dragon might and condense dragon armor to protect your body. It can be considered average. Chu Zan waved his hand and flicked a small book over to Qin Ying. The small book contained the Tyrant Dragon Body technique that he had jotted down while using the Sage Master's halo. When Qin Ying opened the small book, he could directly comprehend the technique. As for how much he comprehended, that would depend on the level of his talent. The direct transmission of the technique would only happen once, which was when he opened it for the first time. This was also one of the abilities of the Sage Master's halo. Qin Ying was extremely excited. He took the cultivation technique book and said respectfully, "Thank you, Master." Chu Zan nodded and continued, "Since you are my disciple, I should tell you that the 9 zones are just a small corner of the myriad realms. As for a mere human king of the northern zone, even if one becomes the human king of the 9 zones, they are nothing in the grand scheme of things. You must remember that if you cultivate diligently, you will be able to travel to the myriad realms with me. Be it the human king of the northern zone, or the human king of the 9 zones, they are just stepping stones on the path that you must take in order to cultivate. Only by stepping into the myriad realms of the heavens will you be able to truly begin your journey as an expert." Qin Ying was shocked. The myriad realms of the heavens. Cultivate diligently and don't slack off. If you manage to step into the myriad realms of the heavens in the future, I will make an exception and accept you as my true disciple. Chu Zan's majestic voice gradually faded into the distance. The circle of light disappeared, and with it the image projection. Qin Ying was still in shock. The 9 zones were just a small corner of the myriad realms. He felt as if he had stumbled upon an incredible secret. Could it be that the experts who had disappeared had all left the 9 zones and headed to the myriad realms? How could they travel to the myriad realms? The desolate ancient zone. The first place Qin Ying thought of was the desolate ancient zone. After all, the desolate ancient zone was the most mysterious and vast zone among the 9 zones. It hid countless secrets. Even the Heaven Realm experts were unable to discover its secrets. It had always been rumored that the Divine Realm experts were hidden in the desolate ancient zone. Now he knew. The Divine Realm experts had gone to the desolate ancient zone in order to find the way to the myriad realms of the heavens. Qin Ying was extremely excited. I, Qin Ying, will definitely go to the myriad realms of the heavens and become Master's true disciple. After becoming the Northern Zone's human king, I, Qin Ying, will definitely become the first human king of the 9 zones. Only then will I have the qualifications to become a true disciple of Master. At this moment, Qin Ying's blood was boiling. He had regained his ambition of unifying the southern region. After a long while, he finally calmed down. He then looked at the book in his hand. I hope that the trashy cultivation technique that Master mentioned will meet my requirements. He was regretting his decision at this moment. He should have asked Master for a powerful cultivation technique. Given Master's strength, any cultivation technique that he imparted to him would be more powerful than the Luo family's cultivation techniques. He had made a mistake. When he flipped open the book, he suddenly felt as if the words on the book had come to life, surging directly into his mind. The information regarding the cultivation technique surfaced in his mind, and he immediately entered a state of comprehension. After an unknown period of time, Qin Ying awakened from his state of comprehension. He had already grasped the Tyrant Dragon Body technique. Looking at the book, his mouth was agape with shock. His master was too powerful. Simply opening the book allowed him to enter a state of comprehension. After putting away the book, Qin Ying became excited. The Tyrant Dragon Body technique was even more powerful than he had expected. Once he cultivated it to completion, it would be even more powerful than the Overlord Body technique he had used in his previous life. If he had this body tempering technique in his previous life, coupled with his Overlord physique, his strength would have been even stronger. When the Tyrant Dragon Body technique was cultivated to completion, divine weapons would not be able to harm him. Moreover, when he used the Tyrant Dragon Body technique, he would not only exude a domineering aura, but also fierce dragon's might. It was incomparably powerful. Qin Ying immediately began to cultivate the Tyrant Dragon Body technique. As for whether his fair and delicate female body would end up becoming muscular and masculine, that was something that did not matter to him at all. He just needed to become stronger. So what if his body was full of muscles? Standing on the cliff, Qin Ying looked down. He could only see his chest and could not see his toes. Once again, his heart was filled with grief. Why did he reincarnate into a woman? It was too tragic. I made a mistake. Qin Ying suddenly sighed. He had actually forgotten to ask his master if there was a way to turn a woman back into a man without being rejected by the Great Tao. He wanted to be that fierce man from his previous life. What a mistake. Qin Ying was extremely vexed. He had only focused on obtaining a body tempering technique. Why did he forget about finding a way to become a man again? He had been careless. The next time he met his master, he had to ask his master for advice regarding this matter. Chu Zan stretched lazily. He had accepted Qin Ying as his unnamed disciple, taught him the tyrant dragon body technique, and broadened his horizons. He was feeling pretty accomplished right now. The human king had to be one of his disciples. It was useless for anyone else to fight over that position. That being said, he had to improve his strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would not be able to control the whole situation. Su Shaner was on the verge of reaching the Emperor realm. She was about to break through. Next was Ding Yu, and then Wang Luo. Chu Zan also expected much from Chu Pingfan. He glanced at Chu Yun. She was cultivating in the ancestral residence of the Chu family. He guided her into the pocket dimension so that she could increase her cultivation and reach the truth realm quickly. It was time for the Chu family to produce an Emperor realm expert. Chu Pingfan was holding a wooden saber in his arms. He was immersed in his cultivation of the saber Dao. Occasionally, he would swing the wooden saber around. This was the saber technique he had learned from the Heaven's Fate saber scripture. Suddenly, a message came through from the communication talisman. It was from Bao Hongyan. A great battle had broken out in the Bai Sheng Mountains ruin. Many experts had fallen. An ancient Emperor Realm expert's soul had been revived. Chapter 129, Emperor Realm Soul Possession. An ancient Emperor Realm expert's soul had been revived. Was it the remnant soul of an expert from the Bai Sheng Mountain sector, an intruder? Chu Zan took out the heaven spying mirror and cast his gaze over the situation at Bai Sheng Mountain. He was not worried about Ding Yu. Did it matter if an Emperor Realm expert's soul was revived? It was just a remnant soul. Moreover, after such a long time, it was undoubtedly already weak. It might be able to deal with an ordinary Truth Realm or even a half-step Emperor Realm expert, but it would not be able to deal with Ding Yu. This was even before one considered the Divine Soul secret technique that Ding Yu cultivated. The divine sword in his body was sufficient to kill any remnant souls of that level. An intense battle had broken out in Bai Sheng Mountain's ruin. It was rare for half-step Emperor Realm experts to join hands. A slightly illusory figure floated in the air above the ruin. Each strike he made was extremely powerful. There were already several Truth Realm experts' corpses on the battlefield. Blood soul devouring. The evil king roared and made a grabbing motion with his hand. Blood gushed out from the ground, and he seemed to be bathed in the blood mist. The rolling bloody mist turned into chains which swept toward the remnant soul. Tie him down so that I have time to refine his soul. The Nine Swords Mountain Elder, Lu Pingfang, the red-bearded elder, and the beautiful woman from the floating flower pavilion all had dark expressions. They attacked continuously, intentionally or not, so that the evil king's bloody mist chains could not completely lock onto the remnant soul. This was a remnant soul, so even though it belonged to an Emperor Realm expert, it was already weak. However, if the evil king refined it, his cultivation would definitely advance beyond the half-step Emperor Realm, and become infinitely closer to the Emperor Realm. His strength would then surpass theirs. Neither Lu Pingfang nor the other three wanted to see the evil king surpass them. I, the evil king, have always been righteous. You bunch of despicable people actually didn't work together to deal with this fellow. Instead, you were constantly on guard against me. What despicable people! Bah! The evil king cursed. Go to hell! You are the most evil and brutal person here. How could you even call yourself righteous? Lu Pingfang and the others cursed in their hearts. Further away from the battlefield, Ding Yu stood motionless with his sword in hand. He did not make a move, but was instead vigilant of his surroundings. Han Yingmeng was not far away from him. The others were all terrified. There was actually an ancient Emperor Realm expert's soul that had been awakened. At this moment, they did not dare to rashly continue their exploration of the core of the ancient ruin. Die! The Emperor Realm remnant soul let out a furious roar. Light blossomed as it blasted out a ferocious attack that instantly enveloped the evil king. Not good. The evil king's expression changed. The remnant soul had sacrificed part of its soul to use this soul attack. Soul attacks were always difficult to defend against, so the evil king did not dare to act carelessly. He raised his hand and grabbed a corpse of a Truth Realm expert that was lying on the ground. It instantly shattered and turned into blood mist. Bang! The blood mist roiled as if it was boiling. It transformed into a rolling river of blood in front of him. The evil king retreated quickly. Chi-chi! The soul attack hit the river of blood, emitting sizzling sounds. It was almost as if a piece of red-hot iron had fallen into the water. The boiling blood mist evaporated at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the soul attack had broken through the blood mist defense that the evil king had erected. However, thanks to the boiling blood mist, its attack power was greatly weakened. It could no longer threaten the evil king. Die. The Emperor Realm Remnant Soul seemed to be ready to fight to the death. The Remnant Soul released a dazzling light which shattered in the blink of an eye. It transformed into 4 rays of light that attacked Lu Pingfeng and the other 3. Not good. Those 4 people's expressions changed drastically and they retreated frantically. The 9 Swords Mountain Elder's sword was floating in front of him. He kept condensing his sword intent in an attempt to block the Remnant Soul's attack. This was the Remnant Soul of an Emperor Realm expert. Perhaps it even belonged to an existence above the Emperor Realm. Even though its cultivation level had fallen and its soul was weakened, it was not something that half-step Emperor Realm cultivators like themselves could compare to. Because of this, the Remnant Soul could fight against the 5 of them by itself. The Evil King's methods were indeed impressive. He used the flesh and blood of Truth Realm experts to activate his evil techniques to block the Remnant Soul's attacks. Lu Pingfeng and the other 3 were slightly weaker. The red-bearded elder had already swallowed a pill to reduce the impact of the soul attack. Lu Pingfeng unfurled his fan and turned it into a shield. Spiritual power surged through it, and the power of his pseudo-domain was pushed to its limit. The beautiful woman from the floating flower pavilion was surrounded by flowers. Each flower was like red-hot iron, emitting a scorching aura. At this moment, the 5 half-step Emperor Realm cultivators had used all their technique. The Evil King, who was the first to be attacked, was the most relaxed. He was defending while retreating, so the encirclement around the Remnant Soul was naturally broken. 4 soul attacks instantly surged out. The soul power that was originally attacking the 4 others suddenly converged, and the Remnant Soul condensed again. Lu Pingfeng and the other 3's expressions changed. They had been fooled. The other party had used a secret technique to split its soul, deceiving them into thinking that it had launched a desperate attack. After forcing them to retreat, the Remnant Soul was condensed again. If the Remnant Soul escaped the ancient ruin, it would not be a good thing for them. There was no Emperor Realm cultivator in the southern region, barring that useless one from the Black Moon Tower who did not interfere in the affairs of the southern region. If the Emperor Realm expert's soul left the ancient ruin, and occupied the body of an expert or searched for precious medicines to recover its soul, it would mean that there would be an Emperor Realm expert in the southern region. They were all used to power by now. How could they tolerate the existence of an expert who was more powerful than them? Moreover, before the ordained time, the experts behind each of their factions would not come to the southern region, so they could continue to be big shots in the southern region for now. However, this would all change if the Remnant Soul escaped. Its existence would be like a knife was hanging above their heads. They would no longer be able to act freely without fearing repercussions. After the Remnant Soul condensed again, it turned into a streak of light. It did not escape, but directly rushed toward Ding Yu. Your body belongs to me. It was actually trying to occupy Ding Yu's body. Lu Pingfeng and the others' expressions changed greatly. Once the other party occupied Ding Yu's body, he might recover his Emperor Realm strength instantly. Everyone present was going to die. However, it was too late to stop him. Ding Yu looked coldly at the Remnant Soul that was charging at him. He had no intention of dodging the attack at all. How could a weak Remnant Soul even dream of occupying his body? Run, Han Yingmeng said anxiously. Her body moved and she rushed over. With a wave of her hand, 100 flowers fell and enveloped Ding Yu directly. She intended to help Ding Yu block the Remnant Soul. Woman, don't meddle. Ding Yu glanced at Han Yingmeng and said unhappily. Boom, the Remnant Soul rushed into Ding Yu's body. It's over. Han Yingmeng's face was filled with despair. At this moment, there were many huge sword mountains around Ding Yu's spiritual will. They were emitting intense sword intent. These sword mountains protected his spiritual will in the center. As soon as the Remnant Soul rushed in, it was surrounded by layers of sword mountains. Each sword mountain was extremely sturdy. They also emitted a strong sword intent. How is this possible? The Remnant Soul was shocked. Why was the opponent's mind and spiritual will so strange? From its perspective, no matter how weak its soul was, it was easy for it to devour an expert's mind and spiritual will. This man had a powerful body and was not a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator. He had not condensed a divine soul, so it was not supposed to be difficult for it to occupy the body. However, it was surrounded by layers of sword mountains as soon as it entered. The strong sword intent almost crushed its soul. Chapter 130. The Young Sect Master of the Bai Sheng Mountain Sect. When Ding Yu saw the remnant soul enter his body, he immediately mobilized the layers of sword mountains to crush it from all directions. He wanted to crush the remnant soul. This was a remnant soul of an Emperor realm expert. After refining it, his spiritual will would definitely increase in strength. When he broke through to the Emperor realm later on, the divine soul he condensed would be even more powerful. Ding Yu immediately activated the 100 Tempering Divine Technique. At the same time, he activated the Immovable Mountain Technique. He wanted to crush the remnant soul and completely refine it. Ordinary Truth Realm cultivators would not be able to refine the soul no matter what technique they used. However, Ding Yu, who practiced the Immovable Mountain Technique and the 100 Tempering Technique, was able to crush the remnant soul and refine it. The remnant soul was shocked. Boom! Under its frenzied attacks, the sword mountains collapsed one after another, but more and more sword mountains kept appearing in their place. It was as if there was no end to them. Run! It had to run. The remnant soul was shocked. It could not understand why a truth realm cultivator's spiritual will was so terrifying. Finally, after losing 2/3 of its soul power, the remnant soul finally escaped. Trying to run, can you escape? Ding Yu sneered. Reading on MyBoZ novel. Please. The endless sword mountains surged forth and instantly set up layers of sword mountains around the remnant soul. At the same time, the sword in his hand moved. It emitted a faintly discernible sword intent. Soul-slaying sword. From the moment the remnant soul had rushed into Ding Yu's body to the moment it had fled in a sorry state, only a brief instant had passed. Han Yingmeng and the others were shocked to discover that the remnant soul had suddenly reappeared in an extremely sorry state. Following that, numerous mountains formed by spiritual will appeared. What was even more terrifying was that each mountain emitted intense sword intent. Like a millstone, they surrounded the remnant soul and continuously grinded it down. What's going on? Everyone was shocked by Ding Yu's technique. What kind of secret technique was this? It was too powerful. It had actually crushed an emperor-level remnant soul despite Ding Yu's own cultivation having only reached the 9th level of the truth realm. Shua! A sword gleam flashed by, and the remnant soul was sliced into 2 halves. Drowned under the surging sword intent, it gradually shattered. Soul-slaying sword. It was a sword Dao that directly cut through one's soul. This type of sword Dao was undoubtedly extremely powerful. The 9 Swords Mountain Elder's face turned increasingly gloomy. After seeing this one sword strike, he knew that Ding Yu had already surpassed him. The remnant soul suffered heavy injuries. The endless sword mountains kept coming, grinding the remnant soul into pieces. The sword mountains also channeled the remnant soul's power back to Ding Yu. Ding Yu's eyes narrowed, and he felt as if he was floating. He was taking in too much soul power, to the point that it might even harm him instead of strengthen him. He frantically circulated the 100 Tempering Divine Technique, continuously refining and compressing the soul power to strengthen his spiritual will. At the same time, he relied on the newly refined soul power to continuously refine more sword mountains, increasing their scale and numbers. Ding Yu stared at the 9 Swords Mountain Elder with contempt and sneered, "Do you want to fight? Come at me." He was extremely arrogant. The 9 Swords Mountain Elder was somewhat tempted. Ding Yu seemed to have encountered a problem at this time. It was as if the absorbed soul power had caused his spiritual will to soar out of control. His gaze turned briefly toward the red-bearded old man, and then to Lu Pingfeng, and then at the evil king and the beautiful woman from the floating flower pavilion. "What are you looking at? This king disdains bullying the weak with numbers. There's no way I will make a move." The evil king looked at him with disdain. He did not stay any longer and left. The pretty woman from the floating flower pavilion paused for a moment, but did not say anything. She also turned around and left. "If you're not attacking, I'm leaving." Ding Yu smiled coldly and turned around to leave. Lu Pingfeng and the other 2 looked at each other, finally giving up on the idea of making a move. The chaos caused by the remnant soul had come to an end. Chu Zan could not help but sigh. Ding Yu was indeed worthy of being the son of fate of the southern region. His harvest here was truly big. After the remnant soul was refined, his spiritual will became even stronger. It had almost reached the limit of the truth realm. He was one step closer to the emperor realm. Once he broke through to the emperor realm, his soul would become even stronger. Just as Chu Zan was about to deactivate the heaven spying mirror, he suddenly discovered an aura emerging from the depths of Bai Sheng Mountain's ruin. It was an aura of someone who seemed to be infinitely close to reaching the emperor realm. There were living people in the Bai Sheng Mountain ruin. How was that possible? How many years had passed? Even if it was an Emperor Realm cultivator, this person's lifespan should have long been exhausted. Could it be that this person had used some kind of special method or some kind of supreme treasure to hibernate until now? Other than that, there was no other possibility. Was this person the successor of the Bai Sheng Mountain sect? Boom! An explosion suddenly erupted, which attracted everyone's attention. A figure spat out blood and flew backward. There's someone in the ancient ruin. The evil king spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out. His expression changed drastically as he roared crazily. A burly figure rose up from beneath the ruin. His white hair was draped over his shoulders and his facial expression was resolute. He looked like he was only 26 or 27 years old. He wore a white robe and there was a mountain symbol embroidered on his robe. The aura he exuded was extremely powerful and was almost comparable to a first-level Emperor Realm cultivator. The few evil generals quickly attacked while catching the evil king who had flown out. The white-haired youth walked over step by step and suddenly made a punching motion. Boom! A truth realm expert who was digging for treasure in the distance was instantly killed with one punch. Everyone's expressions changed. They all gathered together. Put down everything you took. The white-haired youth said coldly. Who are you? Lu Pingfeng gathered all of the experts from the Great Qian dynasty and asked fearfully. Bai Sheng Mountain's young sect master, Bai Shaokong. How was this possible? The Bai Sheng Mountain sect had been destroyed a long time ago. Even Emperor Realm experts would not be able to survive until now. The lifespan of an emperor was not infinite. Empty words without proof. You snuck in here, right? Lu Pingfeng laughed coldly. He did not believe that the other party was Bai Sheng Mountain's young sect master. He had to be a powerful itinerant cultivator who had snuck into the ruin, and was trying to pass himself off as the successor of the Bai Sheng Mountain sect. However, since when did the southern region have such a powerful itinerant cultivator? HMPH. Bai Shaokong snorted coldly and attacked without hesitation. He threw a punch at Lu Pingfeng. Boom, boom, boom. 3 punches. 3 punches was all it took to send Lu Pingfeng flying while vomiting blood. Everyone, quickly join forces. Otherwise, we will be killed by him. Lu Pingfeng's expression changed drastically. Too strong. The pressure he sensed was stronger than when he faced Qin Qian back then. The expressions of the beauty from the floating flower pavilion and the red-bearded elders changed, and they prepared to join forces without any hesitation. However, the Nine Swords Mountain Elder frowned and did not immediately express his stance. You are strong, we will meet again. Just as the red-bearded elder and the beauty from the floating flower pavilion were about to attack, the evil king unexpectedly fled. Evil king! The red-bearded old man shouted angrily. Join forces. If our hearts aren't aligned, why should we? This king is already injured, and I'm afraid that you guys will try pulling some dirty trick on me. The evil king snorted coldly and decisively led his men to flee. In any case, he had already gained a lot from this trip to the ancient ruin. As for whether Bai Shaokong would become a source of big trouble, he was not concerned about it. The evil imperial court would not be destroyed so easily. His actions made sense. The beautiful woman from the floating flower pavilion also prepared to leave with her forces. Trying to leave behind the things you stole from my Bai Sheng Mountain sect. Bai Shaokong snorted coldly and raised his hand to throw a punch. Go to hell. The evil king threw out a blood-red bead. In an instant, blood mist churned and condensed into a blood-red fist that smashed out in response. Boom! Bai Shaokong's attack was blocked. He raised his hand, and was about to attack again. Sir, you should stop while you're ahead. Do you think that the Bai Sheng Mountain sect is still the same Bai Sheng Mountain sect from before? The Nine Swords Mountain Elder spoke up. Bai Shaokong stopped. Chapter 131. Martial Intent, the powerful Bai Shaokong. Although Bai Shaokong's attack stopped, his body moved and he arrived at the entrance of the Bai Sheng Mountain ruin extremely quickly. His appearance there blocked the evil king and Lu Pingfeng's group, who were fleeing the scene. Leave a portion of your gains from Bai Sheng Mountain behind. Otherwise, you'll die. Bai Shaokong's aura surged out and his domain power was unleashed, which suppressed the evil king and Lu Pingfeng's pseudo-domains. The evil king and Lu Pingfeng's expressions changed slightly. This young sect master of Bai Sheng Mountain sect did not seem to have reached the Emperor realm, but he was truly infinitely close to reaching it. He was in a strange realm. Are you really the young sect master of Bai Sheng Mountain sect? The evil king asked with a gloomy face. If you don't believe me, then have a taste of my Bai Sheng divine fist. Bai Shaokong raised his fist, and spiritual power condensed around it mysteriously. The fist intent shook the surroundings, and the evil king felt a strong sense of crisis. Even if he blocked this punch, he would still be slightly injured. He waved his hand and threw out an emperor-level weapon that he had obtained in the ruin, and said, "During this trip, I obtained 2 emperor-level weapons. I'll leave one with you. If you're not satisfied, then my evil imperial court will fight you." At this moment, the evil king also displayed the domineering air of the ruler of the imperial court. Bai Xiaokong did not respond. He stored the emperor-level weapon away and turned his attention to Lu Pingfang. Lu Pingfang's expression was dark. He threw out more than a dozen artifacts, a broken emperor-level weapon, and some other treasures. "I only obtained 1 emperor-level weapon. I can't give it to you." Bai Xiaokong also did not respond to him. The floating flower pavilion and heavenly cauldron mountain also left behind some of their gains. The other forces did not even have a half-step emperor realm expert to protect them, so all their gains were taken back by Bai Xiaokong. If they dared to resist, they would be killed. Qin Changfang arrived late. Hong Fei, the great elder of 9 Swords Mountain, was with him. The evil king and Lu Pingfang were gloating. There were no half-step emperor realm cultivators in this team from the great Qin dynasty. Their gains would definitely be taken back. Would 9 Swords Mountain stand out on their behalf? They did not know if Bai Xiaokong would allow that. Qin Changfang of the great Qin dynasty has been tasked by the empress to send our greetings to young sect master Bai. We would like to invite young sect master Bai to come to our great Qin dynasty. The expressions of the evil king and the others changed. What did this mean? Had the great Qin empress known about Bai Xiaokong's existence? The great Qin empress? Bai Xiaokong raised his eyebrows. Yes, Qin Changfang replied respectfully. Bai Xiaokong nodded and did not say anything further. Qin Changfang and the others walked to the side by themselves. The evil king and the others had gloomy expressions on their faces. Since Bai Xiaokong had not taken back the great Qin dynasty's loot, it meant that he had made concessions because of the great Qin empress. The evil king, Lu Pingfang, and the others, who had learned some secrets about the ancient era, looked as if they were in a state of deep thought. Ding Yu was the last to arrive. He glanced at the group of people at the entrance of the ancient ruin and walked toward the entrance by himself. He had gained a lot from this trip. It was time to go back. Stop. Bai Xiaokong's expression darkened. The other party had actually ignored him. What's the matter? Ding Yu looked at Bai Xiaokong. Leave behind all of your gains from Bai Sheng Mountain or die. Bai Xiaokong was furious. Ding Yu's casual gaze was filled with contempt. Are you even capable of killing me? Ding Yu responded disdainfully and continued to move forward. Die. Bai Xiaokong punched out. Clang. A sword flashed as Ding Yu's sword stabbed toward the fist. Boom. Unexpectedly, the sword gleam shattered, and the fist's momentum did not stop. It was coming straight at him. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Ding Yu's expression changed slightly. He felt an intense sense of crisis. He struck 3 times in a row. After blocking the punch, he had already been pushed 1,000 meters back. Bai Xiaokong took 1 step at a time. The aura surrounding his body grew stronger and stronger. Gradually, a figure with surging battle intent enveloped Bai Xiaokong. Martial intent. The 9 Swords Mountain Elder and the other half-step Emperor realm experts all had solemn expressions. At this moment, Bai Xiaokong was covered by a 30-meter-long figure, as if he was being protected by it. His fists emitted intense fluctuations of martial intent. Everyone present did not doubt that the strength that Bai Xiaokong was displaying at this moment was not much weaker than a first-level Emperor realm cultivator. Han Yingmeng looked at Ding Yu with a strange expression, as if she was worried. Chu Zan observed the strength Bai Xiaokong displayed through the heaven-spying mirror. His eyes flashed as if he had already seen through Bai Xiaokong. Interesting. Before the Bai Sheng Mountain sect was destroyed, they left all of their resources to him. Tisk tisk, it looks like he belongs to Qin Ying's faction. Could he be one of his trump cards? In this state, his strength is about the same as an Emperor realm cultivator. Martial intent was the crystallization of pure martial will. It was a special power similar to domain power. If one fused it with domain power, its strength would double. Unfortunately, Bai Xiaokong's martial intent was not something he comprehended with his talent. Instead, it was fostered using the Bai Sheng Mountain sect's foundation and resources. He had been sleeping for a long time and had been fusing with the martial intent using his body. It seemed that he had now succeeded. If nothing went wrong, he would also be a candidate on Qin Ying's side in their fight for the Fate Treasure. Chu Zan was not worried about Ding Yu. Although Bai Xiaokong was obviously stronger, Ding Yu was not weak either. He had not even used the divine sword energy in his body yet. Moreover, as Chu Zan's disciple, he had cultivated concealment and escape techniques. Even if he could not defeat Bai Xiaokong, it would not be a problem for him to escape. After all, Bai Xiaokong was not actually an Emperor Realm cultivator, and even if he was, given the escape technique that Ding Yu had learned, he could still escape after paying a small price. Since Ding Yu started cultivating, his strength had increased too rapidly. He lacked some training, so it was best if he could use Bai Xiaokong to temper himself. Inside the ancient ruin, everyone turned to look at Ding Yu. Ever since Ding Yu appeared, he had been in the limelight. Under the siege of the half-step Emperor Realm experts, he had killed one person. He had even destroyed the remnant soul. Before Bai Xiaokong appeared, he was undoubtedly the strongest person in this ruin. Lu Pingfeng and the Nine Swords Mountain Elder exchanged glances. They already had a plan in mind. If there was an opportunity, they would definitely take action to eliminate Ding Yu. Ding Yu's gaze turned solemn. This was the first time he felt such intense pressure. Bai Xiaokong was very strong. Even stronger than he was. But Ding Yu was not afraid at all. He could use this opportunity to temper himself. He could truly test his sword Dao, and perhaps even break through some of his limitations in battle. Boom! Bai Xiaokong hurled a punch. The power of his fist was like a raging wave, surging endlessly. The intense martial intent that accompanied it was even more overwhelming. The sword intent around Ding Yu's body surged. The power of the firmament sword body technique was displayed at this moment. The sword intent turned into a surging river of sword gleams. It faced the surging wave-like power of the punch and counterattacked. Sword versus fist. Ding Yu's eyes were resolute as he struck with his sword one after another, each sword strike being faster than the one before it. The surging sword intent was continuously condensing, and looked as if it was about to transform itself into a longsword. Sword intent manifestation. No wonder he was so arrogant. A fierce look flashed across in Bai Xiaokong's eyes as he stepped forward and punched again. He then took another step forward and punched once more. Fist after fist, his fist intent became more and more turbulent. Ding Yu's attacks were constantly shattered, and his body was also being continuously pushed back. It would take 3 or even 4 sword strikes to block the power of one punch from Bai Xiaokong. As Bai Xiaokong continued to attack, Ding Yu felt the pressure become more and more intense. Even the hand he used to attack was trembling. The surging sword intent started to shake, as if it might completely shatter at any time. Chapter 132. I have a sword that can reach the heavens. Ding Yu kept retreating. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, and his breathing became slightly erratic. He was still a bit lacking in terms of cultivation. All of the experts watched this battle with solemn expressions. The expressions of the half-step Emperor Realm experts present were especially solemn and complicated. They were already half-step Emperor Realm cultivators. As long as the laws of heaven and earth in the southern region were restored, they would be able to break through to the Emperor Realm. They had almost reached the limits of what a cultivator below the Emperor Realm could achieve. However, when they compared themselves to Bai Xiaokong and Ding Yu, they found themselves much weaker. Bai Xiaokong had truly reached the limits of a cultivator below the Emperor Realm. He was almost comparable to an ordinary first-level Emperor Realm expert. As for Ding Yu, he was only at the 9th level of the Truth Realm. He should not have cultivated to that limit yet. However, his strength had also surpassed them. Was this the difference in talent? Bai Xiaokong hurled one punch after another, as if he was strolling leisurely, and as if he had not used his full strength. On the other hand, Ding Yu kept retreating, and his surging sword intent seemed to be on the verge of shattering. The outcome was already decided. Boom! The increasingly powerful fist force suddenly shattered Ding Yu's river of sword intent. As the fist force was no longer blocked, it instantly smashed into Ding Yu's chest. Pooh! Ding Yu spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. You managed to block 20 of my punches. You should already be proud of yourself. Bai Xiaokong said coldly. However, he did not stop there. He hurled another punch. The moment he did, a thunderous sound boomed. One could see ripples appearing in the air. The fist force took shape and, like a huge mountain, it descended on Ding Yu. Ding Yu held his sword with both hands, his messy hair fluttering in the wind. At this moment, his aura had reached its peak. Sword intent condensed around the sword. I, Ding Yu, despise this piece of trash who survived the ancient era. I, Ding Yu, am a man who wants to kill gods. There's no way I will lose to someone like you. Bai Xiaokong's eyes were filled with killing intent. He hated it when others dissed him like that. You must die. Bai Xiaokong's killing intent surged. He took a step forward, raised his hand, and made a grabbing motion in midair. The fist force actually retracted. He then punched again. Bai Sheng Divine Fist. With Bai Xiaokong as the center, the spiritual energy within a 100-meter radius instantly disappeared. The laws appeared to faintly merge with the spiritual energy in that space. The merged force condensed around his fist. His soul power also condensed around his fist. This was an extremely sublime fist technique. Despite Bai Xiaokong's cultivation level not reaching the Emperor realm, he had imbued his fist with the laws and spiritual will. The Nine Swords Mountain Elder's pupils constricted. He sensed an intense fatal threat from this fist technique. He had a premonition that, even if he used his one sword, he probably would not be able to survive this attack. It was too powerful. This fist was comparable to the attack of an ordinary first-level Emperor realm expert. Not to mention, Bai Xiaokong had not broken through to the Emperor realm yet. Once he broke through to the Emperor realm, how powerful would he be? When his cultivation level reached the first level of the Emperor realm, he would be as strong as an ordinary second, or even third level, Emperor realm expert. Was this the strength of a heavens blessed from the ancient era? Thinking back to his younger days, he had also been called a top-notch heavens blessed. However, now that he was witnessing this, he knew that he was much weaker than Bai Xiaokong. Is this the legendary Bai Sheng Divine Fist technique? The red-bearded elder muttered to himself. The Bai Sheng mountain sect was also a famous one back then. The founder of the sect, Bai Sheng, was a famous expert in the history of the southern region. It was even rumored that he had broken through to the divine realm. Is Ding Yu going to die? Han Yingmeng muttered. Even though she was watching from afar, Bai Xiaokong's punch gave her a suffocating feeling. How could Ding Yu block it? Chu Zan looked at Bai Xiaokong's punch. It was quite powerful. As expected of Bai Sheng Mountain Sect's ultimate technique, it had already reached the level of a divine technique. Bai Xiaokong's martial will was now imbued into his body, making this punch even more powerful. Under normal circumstances, Ding Yu would not be able to block it. However, Ding Yu was now in a mysterious state. Pressured by this punch, he had the chance to break through his limitations and raise the level of his sword Dao realm once again. His innate Heaven's Will sword pulse gave him extremely strong comprehension ability when it came to the sword Dao. Ding Yu was also looking for a chance to break through his limitations in this crisis. A golden opportunity had come. Ding Yu felt an intense crisis. This was a life and death crisis. The divine sword in his body trembled and was about to leave his body to protect its master. He suppressed the trembling divine sword. Faced with this life and death crisis, the sword in Ding Yu's hand trembled and his sword intent surged. His sword Dao realm, which had always been on the verge of breaking through, finally seemed to take that last step at this moment. There was no life or death in his heart, and there was no fear. There was only the sword. In this world, there was only the sword in his hand. Ding Yu's Heaven's Will sword pulse talent was fully unleashed at this moment. Faced with this life and death crisis, he broke through his limitations in an instant. His comprehension of the heaven-reaching sword technique rose to another level. I have a sword that can reach the heavens. A murmur could be heard. Those words seemed to carry an unyielding and indomitable will. His sword began to emit light. In his world, only this sword existed. It was an unparalleled sword. A sword that can reach the heavens. Clang! The sword gleam only flashed once, but the incomparably powerful fist was instantly sliced into two halves. The fist force was collapsing. Boom! The sword gleam dissipated, and the fist force collapsed. Everyone looked in shock at Ding Yu, who was half squatting with his sword on the ground. Even though he looked like he had exhausted his spiritual power, and was even heavily injured at this moment, he had managed to block that terrifying punch. Bai Xiaokong looked at his fist in shock. There was a bloody scar and shallow wound there. If it had been inflicted by a cultivator in the same realm as his, he could still accept it. However, the one who broke through the Bai Sheng Divine Fist technique with one sword attack and injured him was only a 9th-level Truth Realm cultivator. His opponent had yet to reach the Emperor realm. You deserve to die. Looking at Ding Yu's gaze, Bai Xiaokong felt angry and a little jealous. This person must not be left alive. Otherwise, once he developed further, he would become a great enemy. Bai Xiaokong had to admit the fact that, if their cultivation levels were equal, he would definitely be the loser if they fought. He had gathered the last bit of the Bai Sheng Shan sect's strength and combined it with his martial intent in order to possess such powerful strength. As for the other party, How old was he even? This person was too monstrous. In this era, could it be that he was really so weak? He was Bai Sheng Mountain's young sect master, and their final hope and trump card. Bai Sheng Mountain's experts, at the price of burning their souls, condensed all of their comprehension and martial intent, and passed it down to him. His talent had naturally been regarded as top-notch in the past. At this moment, he had just reappeared in this new era, yet he was already being trampled upon by others in terms of talent. Bai Xiaokong could not accept this fact, especially when he recalled how Ding Yu mocked him, saying that he was a piece of trash that had struggled to survive the ancient era. His heart almost overflowed with anger. Ding Yu suddenly stood up and laughed loudly. As he stood up, cracks appeared on the treasured sword in his hand. The sword that was close to becoming an emperor-level weapon could not withstand Ding Yu's final sword strike. I've finally broken through the second stage of the way of the sword. Ding Yu was extremely excited and completely ignored by Xiaokong's angry gaze. He even cupped his hands and thanked him. Ancient piece of trash, thank you for your help. I, Ding Yu, have broken through the second stage of the way of the sword ahead of time. Because of your help, I won't hold your actions against you. Bai Xiaokong's aura exploded. His originally cold expression became distorted due to anger. Chapter 133. The conclusion of the Bai Sheng Mountain Ruin Exploration Translation. You deserve to die. Don't even think about leaving Bai Sheng Mountain alive. Bai Xiaokong roared with a ferocious expression. Ding Yu was not afraid at all. After swallowing another emperor-level pill, he had already recovered 40% of his strength. He sighed in his heart. Wang Luo's pills were really useful. He could not beat Bai Xiaokong in a fight, but there was no problem in escaping. Chu Zan sighed in his heart. Ding Yu was indeed worthy of being the son of fate of the southern region. The holy maiden of the floating flower pavilion was looking at Ding Yu with a tender gaze. This trip to the ancient ruin had yielded a lot of gains for him. If Chu Zan had not deceived him, Ding Yu would have returned from this trip with a beautiful woman in tow, the kind of person who would stick with him through thick and thin. As his teacher, Chu Zan knew his disciples like the back of his hand. He could tell from a glance that Ding Yu was going to escape. Bai Xiaokong made his move. This punch was even more powerful. Unexpectedly, Ding Yu left a shadow where he had been standing, and his real body had disappeared without a trace. Boom! The shadow was shattered by the punch, and the impact of the strike created a big pit on the ground. Ding Yu's voice could be heard from the entrance of the ancient ruin. ... I won't play with you anymore. I'm going back. Bai Xiaokong was going crazy. Stop him for me, he roared. The Nine Swords Mountain Elder and Lu Pingfeng moved and tried to stop Ding Yu. However, Ding Yu, who was focused on escaping, was not going to stop for them at all. The group of people quickly rushed out of the Bai Sheng Mountain ruin. The moment they came out, Lu Pingfeng and the Evil King's expressions changed. They instantly gathered together and looked ahead warily. A beautiful figure had appeared on top of a mountain at the entrance of the ruin. She looked majestic, domineering, and elegant. Great Qin's Empress, Qin Qian. Qian, stop that person. Hong Fei immediately said when he saw Qin Qian. No matter what, Bai Xiaokong belonged to the Great Qin Empire back then, and his status was extremely important to them now. Naturally, he had to help Bai Xiaokong. Moreover, since he had already offended Ding Yu, if he allowed the latter to further develop, it would be disadvantageous to the Great Qin dynasty. Qin Qian raised her jade-like hand, and wisps of slender light flew out as she prepared to seal off the surroundings. However, when she noticed that the person in question was Ding Yu, her expression instantly changed, and she immediately stopped her actions. She would not stop him. She had once seen Ding Yu in Chu Zan's small courtyard. She knew that this person was with that terrifying person, and that she could not afford to offend Chu Zan. Heck, one in the entire southern region could afford to offend him. Ding Yu looked at Qin Qian in surprise. He felt that this woman seemed a little familiar. Since she did not stop him, she could be considered a friend, maybe. After flying for a few miles, his figure had disappeared without a trace. Qian, why did you? Hong Fei had a puzzled look on his face. Why did Qin Qian not stop Ding Yu? You are the Great Qin Empress. Why didn't you stop him? Bai Xiaokong was furious. Young sect master Bai, you have just recovered. There are some things you don't quite understand yet. Qin Qian said calmly. Then, she sent him a voice transmission. Young sect master Bai, the person behind him can't be offended. Bai Xiaokong calmed down. He frowned and sent a voice transmission in response. Who is behind him? Young sect master Bai, it's better if you don't know. Qin Qian shook her head and did not say anything further. The evil king and Lu Pingfeng were afraid that Qin Qian would make a move, so they did not stay any longer and left quickly. Bai Xiaokong clearly had a connection with the great Qin dynasty. The two of them immediately realized that the great Qin dynasty would become one of the strongest forces in the southern region with Bai Xiaokong joining them. The curtains on the ancient ruin of Bai Sheng Mountain had finally come down. The one who gained the most was undoubtedly Ding Yu. The great Qin dynasty had also reaped a bountiful harvest. Bai Xiaokong had become the great Qin dynasty's guardian expert. Chu Zan had a premonition that as the day the Asura ancient land would open approached, some more of the three factions' arrangements would gradually appear. Ding Yu had returned. Master, I'm back. Comprehend it well. Chu Zan nodded. He then introduced Chu Pingfan to him. Ding Yu took out all the gains he had obtained from Bai Sheng Mountain's ancient ruin. Chu Zan then told him to put it aside and let Su Shaner handle them. As for the spirit herbs, he naturally gave them all to Wang Luo. Ding Yu did not immediately enter the pocket dimension. Instead, he went into seclusion inside the universe space to accumulate his foundation and prepare to break through to the Emperor Realm. Su Shaner was about to break through to the Emperor Realm. After the exploration of the Bai Sheng Mountain ancient ruin, the southern region regained its peace, and the various powers maintained their restraint. The Nine Swords Mountain, Great Qian Dynasty, and the other powers all bought information from the Black Moon Tower in an attempt to find out who Ding Yu's master was. However, the Black Moon Tower did not give them an answer. This caused the various powers to tread carefully, uncertain of Chu Zan's identity. The experts who knew some of the secrets of the Asura ancient land realized that Ding Yu was a chess piece of another participating faction. Chu Zan used the myriad heavenly mirror to connect to the various regions, and also used the heaven spying mirror to investigate the various areas around the southern region. However, he spent more time on cultivation. After all, there were only 30 to 40 years before the Asura ancient land would open. This was calculated based on the current rate of recovery of the laws of heaven and earth in the southern region. It was still unknown whether this date would be brought forward. He had to raise his cultivation level before that. Without sufficient strength, how could he control the overall situation? How could he prevent the experts above the Emperor Realm from interfering in the fight for the Fate Treasures? Since he had bragged about this in front of Qin Ying, he had to accomplish it. Otherwise, where would his prestige as a peerless expert go? After he passed the Tyrant Dragon Body technique to Qin Ying, Chu Zan did not contact him anymore. As a peerless expert, it was impossible for him to pay attention to an unnamed disciple at all times. Ren Cheng had not contacted him for some time either, so Chu Zan took the initiative to contact him and also helped him solve some problems he was facing with the Yin-Yang God combination seal. Ren Chenghe's life and death cycle comprehension was successful, and he would soon reach the divine realm. 3 months later, Chu Zan received news that Du Yuan had arrived in the southern region. He asked the Black Moon Tower to arrange a secret place for him to cultivate in peace as he waited for an opportunity. There were many ancient ruins in the southern region. Chu Zan had a premonition that, as the laws of heaven and earth in the southern region were restored, the sects that had disappeared during the Great War, or some treasure lands, would gradually return. These opportunities were not something that could be casually conjured. The universe space was filled with a faint Tao rhythm as the power of the natural laws guided it down. Su Shaner was in the midst of a breakthrough. Chu Zan took a glance and did not continue to pay attention. Given Su Shaner's talent, cultivation techniques, and various resources, breaking through to the Emperor Realm would not be a problem. Moreover, the domain she constructed was guided by the laws of the Great Tao, surpassing the laws of the heaven and earth of the southern region. Generally speaking, only after breaking through to the heaven realm would one come into contact with the laws of the Great Tao. One would not come into contact with them at the Emperor Realm. The uniqueness of the universe space, coupled with Chu Zan's soul communion Tao technique, guided the Tao rhythm down, which acted as a catalyst that allowed Su Shaner to transcend the laws of the heaven and earth in the southern region and come into contact laws of the Great Tao ahead of time. She would then break through to the Emperor Realm. After she broke through, her strength would be much stronger than ordinary Emperor Realm cultivators. With her cultivation level at the first level of the Emperor Realm, it would not be a problem for her to fight third-level Emperor Realm cultivators. In addition, her domain had the ability to suppress ordinary Emperor Realm domains. In this world, there were countless supreme geniuses and those who obtained fortuitous encounters. Su Shaner would definitely not be the first to break through to the Emperor Realm using the laws of the Great Tao as a catalyst. Ding Yu and Wang Luo were both in the universe space, watching Su Shan'er's breakthrough. Witnessing this would enlighten them and help them when it was their turn to break through to the Emperor realm in the future. Chu Pingfan held onto his wooden saber, quietly watching as well. Chapter 134. Darling, I fell just now. 3 days later, Su Shan'er successfully broke through to the Emperor realm and began consolidating her cultivation. The system's reward arrived as well. Under your careful guidance, your maidservant ignored the restrictions within the southern regions and broke through to the Emperor realm quickly. She has become an Emperor realm genius under the age of 100 and you have been rewarded with 100 years worth of cultivation. He received the reward. As the 100 years worth of cultivation was infused into his body, Chu Zan's strength climbed. Finally, he broke through to the 9th level of the Supreme Realm. He was now one step closer to the Heaven Realm. However, the Heaven Realm was a huge bottleneck, and his cultivation would need a big boost to bridge that chasm. Even if he was rewarded with another 100 years worth of cultivation, it would not be enough to break through to the Heaven Realm. Chu Zan silently estimated that even the cultivation boost reward when Ding Yu and Wang Luo broke through to the Emperor Realm would not be enough for him to break through to the Heaven Realm. In that case, it would be up to Chu Pingfan. What realm would he reach once he succeeded in nurturing the saber? How many years worth of cultivation would he get from Pingfan's achievement? Whether or not he could break through to the Heaven Realm quickly would depend on which realm Chu Pingfan reached once he succeeded in nurturing the saber. Chu Zan was filled with anticipation. He reckoned that he should be able to break through to the Heaven Realm before the 10-year period arrived. Inside the pocket dimension, Chu Yun was cultivating and had already broken through to the 3rd level of the Truth Realm. When Chu Yun had broken through to the 9th level of the Truth Realm, Chu Zan would allow her to leave the pocket dimension. When her foundation had solidified and she was ready for the opportunity to break through to the Emperor Realm, he would help her break through to the Emperor Realm. After Su Shan'er had consolidated her Emperor Realm cultivation, she became very excited and worked a lot harder. She cleaned the courtyard and redecorated it. She resumed her previous routine. Every day, she would brief Chu Zan on the information sent over by the Black Moon Tower. Most of it pertained to the various factions wanting to find out who Ding Yu's master was. There was also information about the smaller ancient ruins that occasionally appeared in various parts of the southern region. In general, the southern region was much more peaceful than before, and there were fewer battles. In the past, the evil imperial court and the Great Qian dynasty constantly clashed, but due to the rise of the Great Qin dynasty, the conflict between the two sides had died down. The heretic cultivators, who usually committed evil everywhere, were much more restrained. This was especially so because the evil imperial court had introduced new laws, which resulted in a reduction in the occurrences of heretic cultivators fighting among themselves and bullying the weak. Thanks to these new laws, there were even a few prodigies who rose up from the lower ranks. Another month passed. Chu Yun broke through to the 9th level of the Truth Realm, so Chu Zan sent her out of the pocket dimension. As soon as she left the pocket dimension, Chu Yun ran over and told Chu Zan that she had entered a mysterious secret realm. She had been cultivating inside that place for dozens of years, but only dozens of days had passed in reality. Her cultivation had even risen to the 9th level of the Truth Realm. She then spent some time playing with Chu Pingfan in the courtyard for a few days before leaving some pills for him. During this time, she wondered why Chu Pingfan was still holding onto that wooden saber. However, seeing that Chu Pingfan liked it, she did not interfere. After breaking through to the 9th level of the Truth Realm, Chu Yun had officially become the #1 expert in the Chu family. Her confidence increased, and she went out to train again. This was especially so because she heard that there was an ancient ruin opening. She wanted to look for a heavenly treasure like the Black Heart Grass to increase Chu Pingfan's level of talent. After leaving the Chu family's territory, Chu Yun turned around to look in the direction of the small courtyard and muttered inwardly, 13th brother seems to be quite powerful. Even though she was at the 9th level of the Truth Realm, she still could not grasp Chu Zan's strength. After Chu Yun left, her first stop was to head to the Black Moon Tower branch in the Chu county capital to gather information about the ancient ruin. She also wanted to find out if the Black Moon Tower had any heavenly or earthly treasures for sale that could raise one's talent and aptitude. As an alchemist, and an extremely powerful one at that, she naturally did not lack money, especially after she had swindled the little evil king's fortune. The Great Qin dynasty, Purple Moon County, within a certain city. In a pavilion in a courtyard, the little evil king was dressed in a white robe. A jade pendant hung from his waist. He had the graceful bearing of a handsome young master. He no longer possessed the aura of evil and cruelty he had in the past. Wang Heng stood outside the pavilion and looked at the little evil king, who now looked like a righteous young master. His worldview was on the verge of breaking down. The little evil king had even asked him to change into a set of decent clothes and behave appropriately so that he would not look like a heretic cultivator. He did all of this just to pursue Chu Yun. He did not even know what was wrong with the little evil king's brain or why he was so obsessed with that woman. It's over, the evil imperial court is done for. Wang Heng was filled with despair for the future of the evil imperial court. The old evil king's head was messed up and he was supporting the current evil king to push out some new laws. The pair no longer looked or behaved like heretic cultivators at all. Needless to say, the evil king's head was messed up long ago. The current evil imperial court was even more fair and just than the Great Qian dynasty. It did not look like an empire that belonged to heretic cultivators at all. Originally, he had hoped that the little evil king would become the salvation of the evil imperial court in the future. After all, the little evil king was more abnormal and cruel than any heretic cultivator. However, what had happened? The little evil king had suddenly fallen in love with a girl. He had given all of his wealth to that girl, and even felt very happy doing so. For that girl, he had actually learned how to be a decent person. Now, all 3 generations of past, present and future evil kings had all gone crazy. Was there any hope for the evil imperial court in the future? Wang Heng's mood was tepid. At this moment, in the pavilion, the little evil king was consulting with a well-known playboy from the Purple Moon County on how to please women. Brother Evil, we don't call women, babe, anymore. It's too vulgar and disgusting. Then what should I call her? Call her, darling. Don't look down on the difference that one word can make. The context and feeling it invokes is completely different. The little evil king looked like he had been taught a valuable lesson. He then asked, Brother Tai, what kind of romantic words should we say to the woman that we like? You've asked the right person. Brother Tai was immediately energized and asked, do you see a fish in the water? I do, but what does that have to do with romantic words? The little evil king was puzzled. How is it not related? You have to use everything you see and think to express your sincerity towards her. Brother Tai continued, listen, Bao, I like fish now. Why do I like fish? Because I like to be with you until death do us part. The little evil king's eyes lit up and a thought flashed through his mind. It was as if he had pushed open a window of inspiration. Brother Tai is really a good teacher and a good friend. I've understood many things thanks to you. The little evil king's fighting spirit immediately soared, and he wished he could immediately meet Chu Yun and say a few romantic words to her. At this moment, Wang Heng sent a voice transmission to him helplessly, Your Highness, Miss Chu has appeared in Purple Moon County. Brother Tai, I will take my leave first. I'll pay you a visit again in the future. The little evil king could not wait to leave, his heart had already flown to Chu Yun. As Chu Yun was searching for spiritual herbs, a figure rushed over quickly. She frowned. Little evil king. She heard the little evil king's voice coming from afar. As usual, his tone was full of affection. Darling, I fell just now. Why did I fall, you ask? Because I wanted to sleep with you. Chu Yun was furious. The little evil king, this B****, was purposely courting death, right? Go to hell. She waved her hand and her palm struck forth. A strike empowered by her 9th level truth realm cultivation was definitely something the little evil king would not be able to withstand. At this critical moment, Wang Heng appeared and blocked the strike for the little evil king. PFF'd. Even though Wang Heng had recently broken through to the 8th level of the truth realm, after blocking Chu Yun's palm strike, his body flew backward and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The little evil king, who was behind him, was also sent flying more than 10 meters backward. Chapter 135. The Young Man on the Narrow Path. Your Highness, run. Wang Heng was shocked. How did Miss Chu suddenly become so powerful? Had she hidden her strength previously? He got up, picked up the little evil king, and ran. The little evil king did not give up. He did not understand why he had angered Chu Yun with just one sentence. Was it wrong of him to speak from the bottom of his heart? Darling, Wang Heng was on the verge of a breakdown. He hurriedly covered the little evil king's mouth and fled. You, the little evil king, are very good at killing beautiful women. You tear them up piece by piece and feed them to the fishes. Are you the kind of person who can say sweet romantic words? You were courting death the moment you opened your mouth. You're sick in the head. Chu Yun did not chase after the little evil king. When she recalled the rumors about the little evil king being sick in the head, she felt that there had to be something wrong with the little evil king's head as well. It was rumored that he was an extremely cruel person who liked to tear apart beautiful women and feed them to the fishes. How could he possibly be truly infatuated with her? There had to be something wrong with his brain that caused him to behave like this. Chu Yun did not take the little evil king's actions to heart and continued to search for spiritual herbs. If he were to provoke her again, she would beat the living daylights out of him. Since he had given all of his wealth to her, she would not beat him to death. He would be beaten close to death. Chu Zan looked at the information about Chu Yun that came from the Black Moon Tower with a strange expression. Had the little evil king really turned into a simp? He did not know where he had learned such strange romantic words from. He was not afraid even though his leg had been broken by Chu Yun once. Instead, he worked hard to cultivate. He even found a 9th-level Truth Realm evil general from the evil imperial court to protect him as he continued to talk to Chu Yun. In order to avoid the fate of having his legs broken by Chu Yun, he cultivated ceaselessly, when he was not bothering Chu Yun, that is. It had to be said that the little evil king's level of talent was really not bad, and he soon broke through to the 5th level of the Truth Realm. The most ridiculous time was when he was chased by Chu Yun for hundreds of miles. Despite that experience, he was still not discouraged and even collected a bunch of spiritual herbs to please Chu Yun so that he would not be chased away. Chu Zan shook his head and ignored the little evil king's insanity. He took out the myriad heavenly mirror and infused his spiritual power into it. The image projection appeared and connected to an ancient forest. Chu Zan felt helpless. He was about to deactivate the myriad heavenly mirror when he suddenly realized that there was a person sitting under an ancient-looking tree. The black-brown liquid that covered that person's body was demonic blood. The person looked young, but he was already at the 3rd level of the Truth Realm. His body was filled with a thick demonic aura. Although he looked almost the same as a human, if one looked closely, one would be able to tell that he was not a human. Was he a member of the demon race? Chu Zan thought about the information he had read and received about the demon race. Among the demon race, the demon tribe with the most outstanding talent and the highest status was the heavenly demon tribe, whose members looked no different from the human race. In the demon race, all of the divine realm experts came from the heavenly demon tribe. Up until now, only members of the heavenly demon tribe were able to break through to the divine realm. Therefore, the heavenly demon tribe was the overlord of the demon race. In ancient times, the heavenly demon tribe hid among the human race, which had caused a lot of losses to the human race. Someone of the heavenly demon tribe. Could it be that the myriad heavenly mirror had randomly connected to the demon zone this time? This young man of the heavenly demon tribe had obviously just concluded a big battle, and his body was stained with the blood of his demon race enemy. The blood of the heavenly demon tribe was no different from that of the human race, so the blackish-brown blood on his body naturally was not his. Heaven's Secret's origin probing technique. Chu Zan's interest was piqued, and he immediately used the Heaven's Secret's origin probing technique. Mo Luantian, this heavenly demon tribe member has been despised and humiliated by the heavenly demon tribe because he possesses the bloodline of the human race. In the end, he could not stand the humiliation any longer and betrayed the heavenly demon tribe to roam the demon zone as an outcast. The ancient demon bloodline in his body is currently in the process of awakening. Thanks to the awakening of the ancient demon bloodline, he carries the fate of the demon zone on his shoulders. Chu Zan had a strange expression on his face. Could this kid, Mo Luantian, be the son of fate of the demon zone? Although the Heaven's Secret's origin probing technique did not confirm that he was the son of fate of the demon zone, it did indicate that his ancient demon bloodline was awakening and that he had thus obtained the fate of the demon zone. If he was not the son of fate, then who else could it be? Chu Zan would not ignore the demon zone's son of fate. He had to be taken in. The demon race was a very powerful race of beings. They had once suppressed the human race for a period of time. Even though they were no longer as glorious as they were in the ancient times, they were still one of the most powerful races in the 9 zones. Although the demon race only occupied the demon zone itself was as large as 3 of the human zones. Mo Luantian possessed the bloodline of the human race. Did that mean that his father had married a human woman? Or did it mean that his father had once raped a human woman, who then gave birth to him? Was that why he was spurned by the heavenly demon tribe? Was that why he chose to betray them? No matter what the situation was, Mo Luantian did not have a good impression of the heavenly demon tribe or even the demon race. Of course, if he ran over to the human race, he would also be spurned. He was the son of Fate of the Demon Zone. He had awakened the bloodline of the ancient demons and possessed extraordinary talent. The heavy responsibility of transforming the demon race into Buddhas would be handed to him. Chuzan immediately thought of imparting Buddhist teachings to Moluantian. If he successfully imparted the Buddhist Dharma to the demon zone, and transformed the demon race into Buddhas, that would be a truly heroic feat. At this moment, Moluantian was sitting cross-legged under the ancient tree. He took out a large jar. Inside was some demon blood that had been refined. Moluantian reached into the jar with both hands and shouted in a low voice, "Demonic Devour." A suction force enveloped the demon blood in the jar. The originally weak Moluantian gradually recovered his vitality. In fact, his aura had become even stronger. The demonic blood in the jar also lost its energy and started giving off a fishy smell. Moluantian stood up. His eyes were cold as he muttered, "Heavenly Demon Tribe, I will definitely return one day. You will all one day know that I am the real demon. I will cultivate the strongest demonic technique in the world." This young man was very ambitious. There was no problem for a member of the demon race to cultivate a demonic technique. However, this would only result in ordinary achievements. The young man's horizons had to be broadened. He did not have to cultivate demonic techniques just because he was a member of the demon race. Cultivating demonic techniques would only limit his future achievements. Moluantian, this young man, should not be allowed to walk this narrow path. Chuzan felt that it was his responsibility to correct Moluantian's skewed perspective and broaden his horizons. Chuzan wanted him to realize that cultivating Buddhist techniques would give him a truly boundless future. No matter how high his cultivation was, he was still a member of the Heavenly Demon Tribe. How could he trample the Heavenly Demon Tribe under his feet without access to their techniques and resources? However, things were different if he cultivated Buddhist techniques. He would be able to turn the demon race into Buddhas. If he turned the entire Heavenly Demon Tribe into a Buddhist tribe, Moluantian would become a big shot of the Buddhist tribe. This was the correct path. Chuzan appeared seated on the 24-petal Tao lotus. The myriad laws Tao robe was wrapped around him. In order to fool Moluantian, Chuzan deliberately emitted Buddhist light from his body. At this moment, his form and demeanor was one of solemnity. Amitabha. Just as Moluantian was about to leave, a vast and majestic voice suddenly rang out, piercing straight into his mind. When he heard this voice, Moluantian's restless heart actually calmed down. He raised his head to take a look, and he was shocked. What kind of powerful existence was this? Even the Heavenly Demon Tribe's Divine Realm Elder was far inferior to this person, right? Although he had never met the Heavenly Demon Tribe's Divine Realm Elder, he knew that the Elder did not possess such a terrifying appearance. Young man, the demonic path has no future. This Venerable Self notes that you possess quite a bit of wisdom. Cultivating Buddhism has a boundless future. Are you willing to convert to Buddhism? Buddhism. Moluantian was stunned. Even after racking his brains, he could not recall any faction in the 9 zones and 50 regions that was called Buddhism. Chapter 136. Taking in a disciple, Moluantian. Should he take this senior as his master? This senior seemed to be very powerful. If he refused, would he be killed? Moluantian was very conflicted. He had never heard of Buddhism. Even though this senior seemed to be extremely powerful, how powerful could an unknown force or race be? The upper limit was definitely not high. Thinking back to his ancient demon inheritance, he considered refusing. The ancient demon was an extremely powerful existence. Legend had it that the ancient demon once suppressed the human race. This senior looked extremely powerful, but, no matter how powerful he was, the ancient demon was stronger, right? In the future, he would become the ancient demon and rule the Heavenly Demon Tribe. Senior, please forgive me. As a demon, I, Moluantian, am focused on cultivating the inheritance of the demon race and have no interest in cultivating other techniques. Moluantian gritted his teeth and said. Chuzan raised his eyebrows, and was a little surprised. He had made such a grand and awe-inspiring entrance, but this kid was actually not willing to acknowledge him as his master. He was truly walking a narrow path. Young man, as meeting itself is fate. This venerable one can see that you possess some measure of wisdom, so I made an exception to accept you as my disciple. The demonic path has no future. Young man, don't walk a narrow path. Chuzan was not flustered at all. He had become very skilled at deceiving people. The reason why Moluantian did not acknowledge him as his master was because he felt that Buddhism was a faction or race with no future. On top of that, he possessed the inheritance of the ancient demon, so he believed his own future to be boundless. The 9 zones are just a desolate corner of the myriad realms. How can you understand how vast the universe is when you only live in a small corner of it? The ancient demon of your demon race was just an average character in the myriad realms. How could someone like that compare to me? Buddhism is the true path. This is where your talent lies. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Mo Luantian's heart trembled. Myriad realms. Ancient demon was only an average existence in the myriad realms. He was somewhat moved. Could it be that Buddhism was really that powerful? Was the ancient demon really that weak? May I ask, Senior, what are the myriad realms? The myriad realms are boundless and contain countless experts. Only those who reach the so-called divine realm of the 9 zones have the ability to reach the myriad realms. Young man, joining the Buddhist sect is the right path for you. The myriad realms of the heavens is where your true path lies. The tiny demon zone and the heavenly demon tribe are just stepping stones. The Buddhist Dharma is boundless and merciful. You begrudge the heavenly demon tribe, but no matter how strong you are still a demon. However, what if you become a Buddha? If you turn the demons into Buddhas, you will become the founder of the Buddhist race of the 9 zones, and not merely one of the chosen ones of the younger generation of the demon race. Chuzan smiled as he pulled Mo Luantian into his imagined world of grandeur and endless possibilities. It was self-evident that someone as ambitious as Mo Luantian would want to become an ancestor or forefather of the demon race. Mo Luantian's heart trembled. He was captivated. It all made sense. No matter how strong he was still a descendant of the demon race. At most, he would be a top-notch descendant of the demon race. However, what if he founded a race? Senior, you said that the Buddhist Dharma is boundless. How powerful is it? Mo Luantian wanted to test whether the Buddhist Dharma was stronger or weaker than his ancient demonic power. If the Buddhist Dharma was strong, he would not hesitate and would immediately become a disciple of the Buddhist sect. However, if it was not as strong as the ancient demonic power. Chuzan waved his hand, and a strand of Buddhist power flew over. This strand of Buddhist power was only at the 2nd level of the truth realm. Buddhist Dharma had a strong restraining effect on demonic power. Even though it was at the 2nd level of the truth realm, it was more than enough to restrain Mo Luantian's ancient demonic power. The outcome of this test bore no suspense. Chuzan could not help but sigh. Mo Luantian did not bow his head immediately. It could be seen that he was very confident in his ancient demonic inheritance. He was also very vigilant. This tiny bit of Buddhist power is weaker than your demonic power, but it can defeat your demonic power. Mo Luantian was full of trepidation. When he sensed that the vast and majestic Buddhist power was only at the 2nd level of the truth realm, he let out a sigh of relief. The demonic power in his body surged and he directly threw a punch with all of his strength. Kai. However, when Mo Luantian's demonic power met the Buddhist power, it made sizzling sounds and started to melt away. It was completely suppressed. It was as if it had met its nemesis. Mo Luantian was shocked. He could sense that this Buddhist power was really only at the 2nd level of the truth realm. It did not contain any special characteristics either. In addition, his ancient demonic power was stronger than ordinary demonic power, or even the heavenly demon tribe's demonic power. Even so, it was suppressed by that tiny bit of Buddhist power. Had it been any other demonic power, it would have collapsed even faster. The Buddhist Dharma was too powerful. This was a great opportunity. Plop. Mo Luantian was also a decisive person. He immediately knelt down to acknowledge Chuzan as his master. Disciple Mo Luantian greets master. Dong, dong, dong. Amitabha, Buddha, good, good. Chuzan chanted the name of Buddha. Since you have joined the Buddhist sect, you should accept its commandment and get rid of the 3,000 strands of vexation. Yes, master. Mo Luantian knelt on the ground respectfully. Chuzan waved his hand and a stream of power was transmitted over. He wiped Mo Luantian's head and all of his hair fell off, revealing a bald head. As for the other Buddhist precepts and rules, Chuzan did not pass them on. Those precepts and rules would be left to Mo Luantian to comprehend on his own from the Buddhist Dharma. He had founded Buddhism in this world, but he would not copy those precepts and rules from his previous world. However, there were some Buddhist scriptures that were handed over to Mo Luantian and Buddha Nanwu to comprehend on their own. Since Mo Luantian was now his disciple, Chuzan decided to teach him the current Tathagata Sutra from the Three Lives Buddhist scripture. This Buddhist sutra contained many Buddhist divine techniques, and had been the main cultivation technique of Tathagata. It was not all taught to Mo Luantian in one go. This fellow was currently cultivating an ancient demonic cultivation technique, so before cultivating the Buddhist sutra, he needed to convert the demonic power into Buddhist power. This was not a big problem. He would just need to spend a little time on it. Moreover, Mo Luontian's cultivation would drop to a certain extent. I'll pass you the Buddhist Dharma now. Chuzan spoke and chose the Vairocana Sutra, the indestructible golden body, and other Buddhist techniques to pass on to Mo Luontian. Since he was a monk, how could he not have a monk robe and staff? Chuzan quickly refined a monk robe, staff, and an alms bowl, and passed it to Mo Luontian. You've just entered the Buddhist sect, and your cultivation is low. I'll pass on the monk robe, staff, and alms bowl to you. Mo Luontian received the monk robe, staff, and alms bowl. He was shocked. These were actually heavenly artifacts. They also had many magical effects that far surpassed ordinary heavenly artifacts. This was only the starting point. Chuzan was not surprised by Mo Luontian's reaction at all. He was satisfied with his accomplishment of refining his first artifacts, which had turned out to be heavenly artifacts. Moreover, he added many wonderful uses and functions according to his own ideas. For example, restraining one's aura, concealing treasures, and so on. After passing on the technique to Mo Luontian, Chuzan was still a little worried. After all, Mo Luontian was very ambitious. Although he had accepted Chuzan as his master, he had not sincerely converted to Buddhism, nor did he have any awareness of how to be a monk. He only cultivated Buddhist cultivation techniques. This was not acceptable in the long run. What Chuzan needed was a true Buddha. At that moment, he chanted Buddhist mantras to Mo Luontian, enlightening him onto the path of Buddhism. In order to create a Buddhist race in this world, he had put in a lot of effort. As such, he used his identity as Buddha to enlighten Mo Luontian. As he recited the mantras, mysterious runes floated into the myriad heavenly mirror, enveloping Mo Luontian. Gradually, Mo Luontian sat cross-legged on the ground, his hands clasped together, his brows lowered, as he too chanted the mantras, and his body began to radiate Buddhist light. The ancient demonic power in his body was gradually being converted into Buddhist power. Chapter 137. Trial Mystic Realm, Challenge Oneself. When all of the demonic power in Mo Luontian's body had been converted into Buddhist power, his cultivation dropped from the third level of the truth realm to the first level of the truth realm. However, his strength increased rather than decreased. This was especially when he was facing another member of the demon race, whereby his strength increased exponentially. Praise be to Buddha. Mo Luontian put his palms together and knelt on the ground. He had become a devout Buddhist disciple. Rise. Chuzan let out a sigh of relief. He had finally brainwashed Mo Luontian. More accurately, he had successfully converted him. However, looking at Mo Luontian's current appearance, it seemed that although he possessed the temperament of a monk, for some reason, he also exuded a bit of demonic nature. Chuzan muttered inwardly, could it be that when Mo Luontian had converted, his added words of deception had caused the other party to go astray? He hoped that nothing bad would happen. He would be able to successfully create a storm in the demon zone and gather a group of Buddhist believers. Your grand goal is to convert the demon race into Buddhas. You have taken the first step in creating the Buddhist race, and have been rewarded with the Buddhist scripture. The system's reward suddenly arrived. Chuzan was stunned. Even this sort of thing could trigger a reward from the system. Reading on myboxnovel.com, please. He received the Buddhist scripture. After the system finished instilling the Buddhist scripture into his mind, Chuzan became shocked. This time, he was really going to become a true Buddha. The Buddhist scripture contained all of the Buddhist scriptures, all the Buddhist techniques, Mahayana scriptures, and so on. This was a complete set. There were also some Buddhist scriptures that Chuzan did not understand and had never heard of. He selected a few scriptures that were mainly used to help people become good, spread faith, and educate believers. He used the Sage Master's halo to inscribe them on a booklet. He then passed the booklet to Mo Luontian and asked him to use the knowledge within it to spread Buddhism in the demon zone and convert believers. Mo Luontian received the Buddhist scriptures with a devout and burning gaze. He kowtowed again and knelt on the ground. You took one of the children of fate of the demon race as your disciple and converted him into a Buddha. You have been rewarded with a lucky mystic realm and a trial mystic realm. Chuzan received another system reward. Moreover, Chuzan noticed that the word, one, had appeared in front of the term, children of fate of the demon race, in the system's description. Did this mean that the demon race had more than one child of fate? On second thought, it made sense. The demon race was so powerful, so there had to be more than one person who could shoulder the race's fate. After encouraging Moluantian and imprinting the myriad heavenly mirrors mark on his body, Chuzan deactivated the myriad heavenly mirror. He could not wait to receive the reward. First was the lucky mystic realm. Chuzan was already very familiar with this thing. Seeing that he had obtained another lucky mystic realm, Chuzan decided to actually set up this lucky mystic realm. He had a plan in mind as to where he would set it up. Next, he received the trial mystic realm. This was the first time this thing had appeared. From its name, one could already roughly understand what this mystic realm was used for. Trial. Chuzan examined the description of the trial mystic realm. The trial mystic realm can completely replicate its user, allowing them to challenge themselves, through which the user can find their own flaws, defeat oneself, and break through their own limitations. The trial mystic realm is filled with all kinds of dangers, experts of various cultivation realms, cultivators that use all kinds of weird and powerful cultivation techniques, where one can fight one-on-one, or one versus many. Chuzan examined the function of the trial mystic realm, after which he could not help but let out a sigh. As expected of a product of the system, this thing was indeed extraordinary. Currently, he just happened to be lacking in combat experience. Now that he had the trial mystic realm, he could participate in these trials to his heart's content. He no longer needed to worry about being found lacking in terms of combat experience. It would also allow Ding Yu and the others to improve themselves in the trial mystic realm. They would be able to hone their combat experience with it. The trial mystic realm could replicate all of one's abilities. One could challenge oneself, defeat oneself, and find one's weaknesses and strengths. It could truly help with breaking through one's limits. There were also all kinds of dangerous settings, as well as all kinds of experts of all realms. One-on-one combat trials could be carried out, or one-on-many combat trials. Basically, there were all kinds of dangerous situations and trials that could be encountered in the trial mystic realm. One could even simulate corresponding trial scenarios according to the trial taker's wishes. More importantly, one would not really be injured or killed in the trial mystic realm. That being said, injuries suffered while inside the trial mystic realm would behave just like injuries in real life. It would affect one's ability to display one's strength and ability. If one died in the trial, one would be immediately ejected from the trial mystic realm. Aside from that, the trial mystic realm could be used to invite another to battle. One could truly fight with one's bare hands or weapons to see who was the strongest, and who would be able to survive until the end. Chuzan took out the trial mystic realm. A fist-sized jade bead that was full of Dao aura appeared in his hand. At a glance, it was as if he could see all sorts of trial scenarios within the jade bead. This was the trial mystic realm that had not been opened. Chuzan thought about it and decided to place the trial mystic realm in the pocket dimension. The universe space was limited and was not a suitable place for the trial mystic realm. Placing it inside the pocket dimension was the best solution. He then set up the trial mystic realm. Chuzan could not wait to enter the trial to test his strength and increase his combat experience. His body was still sitting there in the small courtyard, but his consciousness had already entered the trial mystic realm. He did not choose to enter directly with his body. He selected the one-on-one battle trial option. An ordinary 9th level Supreme Realm expert would be instantly killed by him with a single punch. He gradually increased the strength of the 9th level Supreme Realm expert he was fighting. In the end, the strongest strength that could be displayed by the trial mystic realm that matched Chuzan's cultivation was that of a peak 9th level Supreme Realm expert. The battle did not last for long. In about a minute, Chuzan killed his opponent. So my strength is indeed invincible in the same realm. In the history of the 9 zones, the strongest 9th level Supreme Realm expert couldn't even last a minute against me. Chuzan's ego suddenly felt a bit inflated. He chose the next trial level. His opponent was now a 1st level Heaven Realm expert. It was just an ordinary 1st level Heaven Realm expert. Chuzan wanted to see if he could bridge the realm difference and defeat this 1st level Heaven Realm cultivator. One had to know that the Supreme Realm and the Heaven Realm were separated by a giant natural chasm. The gap between them was much larger than the gap between the Truth Realm and the Emperor Realm. The battle soon commenced. Chuzan used all kinds of secret techniques and abilities. The battle lasted for an hour before Chuzan used the time illusion technique to heavily injure his opponent. The price for that was that he was killed. The gap between him and the Heaven Realm was too big. He, the strongest 9th level Supreme Realm cultivator in history, was unable to bridge realms and kill a 1st level Heaven Realm expert. Next, Chuzan chose to challenge himself. He wanted to break through the current limits of his strength and find out what his own shortcomings were, as well as weaknesses he had in battle. In the battle with the Heaven Realm expert, Chuzan had found that although he had many divine abilities and secret techniques, during certain moments, he was unable to use them properly. He was unable to unleash his full power in combat. He felt that if he broke through his current limits, he would have a chance of defeating an ordinary first-level Heaven Realm expert. For the next 3 days, Chuzan challenged himself inside the Trial Mystic Realm. Every time he fought, he would discover more flaws and fix them before his next battle. However, his clone would also do the same. As such, it was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to break through his limits if he wanted to defeat his clone. 10 days. Chuzan spent 10 days immersing himself in battle. He finally unleashed his strongest attack and successfully killed his clone. The moment he broke through, Chuzan suddenly had an epiphany. His strength had stepped into a new realm. Chapter 138. Ding Yu, Master, have I understood correctly? ? After defeating his clone, Chuzan tried to challenge an ordinary first-level Heaven Realm expert. The battle lasted half an hour. Chuzan unleashed his full power and finally killed the Heaven Realm martial artist. The price was that he had also suffered heavy injuries. I should have broken the record by becoming the first Supreme Realm cultivator to kill a Heaven Realm cultivator. Chuzan was extremely excited. He had gained a new understanding of his own strength. After realizing how powerful a Heaven Realm entity was, Chuzan could not help but feel lucky. Back then, Mo Tuo's soul had been heavily injured and had fallen from the Heaven Realm. If it had not, Chuzan would not have been able to suppress him. It was also because Mo Tuo's soul had been weakened by the long period of hibernation and inactivity, which resulted in the strength of his soul becoming weaker. That was why Mo Tuo was easily suppressed by the Heaven Sealing Forbidden technique. Following that, Chuzan went through all kinds of trials in the Trial Mystic Realm to increase his ability and adaptability in dealing with all kinds of dangers, attacks, and situations. This was all done to increase his combat experience. After all, up until now, Chuzan had never really fought anyone. His combat experience was extremely lacking. Reading on mybo.xnovel.com, please. A month later, Chuzan felt elated. He had cleared all sorts of dangerous situations and challenges inside the Trial Mystic Realm. It was not an exaggeration to say that his combat experience was definitely top-notch now. You did not leave seclusion, but cleared all sorts of dangerous situations and challenges in the Trial Mystic Realm. Thanks to your rich combat experience, you have been rewarded with the myriad battle insights. He had actually triggered the system's reward. Chuzan was slightly surprised, but chose to receive the reward anyway. The myriad battle insight was a type of battle consciousness. It was as if he was born with it. He now had the ability to deal with all kinds of battle situations and had an extremely strong combat awareness. Chuzan felt his combat experience soar once again. It was not an exaggeration to say that no one could compare to him in terms of combat experience and battle awareness. After comprehending the myriad battle insights, Chuzan no longer needed to go into the Trial Mystic Realms. He was now the person who knew how best to fight in the world. No one knows how to fight better than me. Chuzan let out a sigh. After opening the Trial Mystic Realm, a new area had suddenly appeared in the pocket dimension. It was filled with mystery and surrounded by Tao rhythm. He summoned Ding Yu, Wang Luo, and Su Shan'er over. Your master has opened a Trial Mystic Realm. You can go to the Trial Mystic Realm to increase your combat experience. You can even defeat yourselves and break through your limits. He briefly introduced the Trial Mystic Realm. Ding Yu and Wang Luo were overjoyed. After thanking him, they immediately went to the Trial Mystic Realm. Mister, since it's possible to invite people to fight in the Trial Mystic Realm, can you force them to accept the challenge? Su Shan'er asked cunningly. After breaking through to the Emperor Realm, Su Shan'er's temperament and demeanor had become even more charming. Chuzan raised his eyebrows. What do you want to do? I want to beat that B***** Ding Yu to death. Su Shan'er gritted her teeth and spoke. In the real world, it was impossible to beat Ding Yu to death. However, they could do so in the Trial Mystic Realm. In any case, they would not actually die. As such, she could actually beat Ding Yu to death once. That guy was too despicable. He dared to make a wooden figurine next to her. Every time he opened his eyes, he would look in her direction, trying his very best to ignore her presence. He wanted to test his sword Tao realm. After breaking through the first stage of the Way of the Sword, he now wanted to know if it was stable and if he was improving. He did so by seeing if his first glance was on Sushana or the wooden figurine. Obviously, 7 out of 10 times, his eyes sought out Sushana. This meant that his sword Dao realm was not stable enough. He was far from reaching the realm where he had no woman in his heart, and could kill gods with his sword. He had to continue improving. Sushana was furious. Ding Yu, that B****, actually used her to temper his state of mind. It was simply too much. What was even more outrageous was that he even fooled Wang Luo into tempering his state of mind as well. Gradually, Wang Luo was led astray by him. The corners of Chu Zan's mouth twitched. Ding Yu, that brat, had really been deceived to the point of absurdity. He had to deceive him once more. Otherwise, if this continued, it would be easy for him to take things too far. Alright, if you want to challenge him, I will make it so that he cannot refuse. Chu Zan nodded and agreed. After Sushana entered the pocket dimension, Chu Zan called Ding Yu out. He had to correct him. Master. Chu Zan used the Sage Master's halo to envelope the courtyard. How is your comprehension of the 3 stages of the Way of the Sword? Master, I feel that I have already broken through the 2nd stage of the Way of the Sword and am in the process of consolidating it. Ding Yu said excitedly, Master, I believe that I will soon reach the realm where I have no woman in my heart and can kill gods with my sword. You have taken the wrong path, Chu Zan said. Ding Yu's heart shook. Master, please explain. Since Master said that he had taken the wrong path, then he had most definitely taken the wrong path. You avoid women, rebuff women, and don't allow them to get close to you. This has created a barrier in your heart because you fear that if a woman gets close to you, they will mess up your sword heart. Your method of breaking through the 3 stages of the Way of the Sword has taken the wrong path. Ding Yu was stunned. He recalled the situation at the Bai Sheng Mountain ruin. Did he not rebuff Han Yingmeng and keep her from getting close to him? This was because he was not confident, he was afraid that she would affect his sword heart. In the end, he still managed to accomplish it. He did not lose his focus when faced with beautiful women. So what if they were swaying their hips in front of him? So what if they were naked? I did not even spare them a sideways glance. Chu Zan looked at Ding Yu thoughtfully and said, seeing a woman as a woman, but also not seeing a woman as the focus. There is a woman around you, but there is no woman in your heart. This is the correct realm. As he spoke, he called Sushana out. Look, is she a woman? Ding Yu raised his head to look. Sushana was dressed as a servant and had a pretty face. He could tell from a glance that she was absolutely stunningly beautiful. She's a woman. Look again. Is she still a woman? Ding Yu. Sushana. Ding Yu did not know how to answer Chu Zan's question. She was clearly a woman. How could she not be a woman? He was very confused. He always felt that his master's words contained profound truth, but he also felt that he was too stupid to comprehend it. Chu Zan raised his hand and pointed beyond the courtyard. Looking from here to the distance, one could see that there was a hazy mountain peak in the distance. Look, is that a mountain? Yes. Look again, is that still a mountain? Ding Yu was stunned. That was a mountain. However, since Master had asked this question, there had to be some sort of deeper meaning behind the question. His answer had been, mountain. Was my answer not correct? He did not know how to answer. Sushana was also stunned. What kind of riddle was Master playing at? Wang Luo also ran out. Looking at the mountain in the distance that Chu Zan was pointing toward, he was also confused. To see a mountain is a mountain, to see a mountain is not a mountain, to see a mountain is still a mountain. These were the 3 realms of enlightenment. Chu Zan closed his eyes slightly and said in an unfathomable manner. To see a mountain is a mountain, to see a mountain is not a mountain, to see a mountain is still a mountain. Ding Yu muttered to himself, in other words, he had to see a woman as a woman, see a woman as not a woman, and see a woman as still a woman. The corners of Chu Zan's mouth twitched slightly. Disciple, you better not go astray again. In order to bring you back to the right path, I put in a lot of effort. Master, I've understood. Ding Yu's eyes suddenly lit up. It was as if he had woken up from an epiphany, and his face was full of joy. He looked at Sushana. You're not a woman. Right, you're not a woman. You're just a wooden figure that I carved. You are the wooden figure. The wooden figure is you. In my heart, you are not a woman, but you are also a woman. Master, have I understood correctly? Chapter 139. Ding Yu was once again misled. Ding Yu knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times respectfully. Chu Zan looked at the energetic and spirited Ding Yu, and the corners of his mouth twitched again. He had a feeling that his disciple had been misled again. Whatever. In any case, at least he would not go too far now. Su Shaner was furious. Ding Yu, come. Let's spar. Pa! The long whip shook and wrapped itself around Ding Yu, pulling him into the pocket dimension and directly into the trial mystic realm. Ah! Ding Yu's screams could be heard from the trial mystic realm. Su Shaner had already reached the Emperor realm, so Ding Yu was no match. After all, Su Shaner's talent was no weaker than his, and she cultivated the Grand Moon Immortal spell, so her strength was much stronger than that of an ordinary Emperor realm cultivator. Su Xian, could easily defeat 10 Emperor realm cultivators like Lao Guitai. ... Tell me, what am I? Blockhead. Go to hell. You are not a woman in my eyes. Go to hell. Although you are a woman, in my eyes, you are no different from a blockhead. Go to hell. Sister Su, stop hitting me. It will be the same no matter how much you hit me. I have realized that I have reached the realm of seeing women as women and also not as women. The next step is to break through to the realm where I have no woman in my heart and can kill gods with my sword. Ding Yu howled miserably as he muttered, I believe that, in Master's eyes, you are also a wooden figurine. You are no different from a wooden figurine. As soon as these words were said, Su Shaner was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She immediately exploded. Go to hell. Boom. Inside the trial mystic realm, Ding Yu really exploded. Again, she pulled Ding Yu into the trial mystic realm and then killed him again. Master, save me. Sister Su is crazy. Ding Yu begged for mercy. He felt that Su Shaner was extremely terrifying at this moment. Chu Zan sighed. Next time, he would not go too far when deceiving his disciple. Ding Yu had gone down the wrong path again. Hopefully Wang Luo would not follow suit. He could not help but think of Mo Luantian. He hoped that this disciple would not be led astray by him and would become a proper monk instead. Su Shaner beat Ding Yu to death more than 10 times in a row. Only then did her anger subside slightly. Ding Yu was afraid. For some reason, Su Shaner had suddenly become so scary. He had to hide for the time being. Mr. Su Shaner looked at Chu Zan pitifully. Do you think I'm a wooden figurine? Chu Zan's mouth twitched and he said seriously, don't listen to Ding Yu's nonsense. You really don't think I'm a wooden figurine? Su Shaner looked at him suspiciously. Ding Yu is a fool. Are you a fool too? Chu Zan said. He was in a bad mood. Oh, I knew it. That B***** Ding Yu is too detestable. Su Shaner finally let out a sigh of relief. In the following days, Ding Yu and Wang Luo both entered the trial mystic realm to train. Su Shaner would also go to the trial mystic realm to train once every day. However, most of the time, she would stay by Chu Zan's side every day to sort out information, cook delicious dishes, and play with Chu Pingfan. Every once in a while, she would drag Ding Yu into the trial mystic realm and give him a beating. Although Chu Pingfan still looked like an ordinary person, and had not even reached the mortal realm, the strength of his physical body was comparable to that of a profound realm cultivator. He had been nurturing his saber. Every day, he would practice his saber techniques in the universe space. His small face had a determined expression, and his gaze was firm. He still looked dull and stupid, and not at all like a clever child. Chu Zan had been paying attention to his progress in nurturing his saber. Chu Pingfan's body had already developed a special charm. Ding Yu and Wang Luo had fought several times inside the trial mystic realm. Each time, Ding Yu had suppressed Wang Luo. In terms of combat capabilities, Ding Yu was stronger than Wang Luo in terms of both talent and strength. However, Wang Luo was also extremely strong. Although Ding Yu could suppress him, it was extremely difficult to kill Wang Luo. Wang Luo had countless medicinal pills. In the life and death battle trial, Wang Luo relied on the continuous recovery provided by his medicinal pills to almost exhaust Ding Yu. Even though Ding Yu still managed to defeat Wang Luo in the end, he still paid a heavy price. Ding Yu's strength and foundation were ultimately stronger than Wang Luo's. Otherwise, given the various medicinal pills that Wang Luo had, it was hard to say who would be the victor. What was worth mentioning was that, regardless of whether it was Ding Yu, Wang Luo, or Su Shaner, none of them were able to defeat their own clones. Every time they challenged themselves, they would be able to find their flaws and make up for them in the next battle. Their strength was also improving, but they were still unable to defeat their clones, as every time they improved, their clones did as well. The three of them all believed that it was impossible to defeat their clones and break through their true limits. The greatest gain from challenging themselves was actually to find their weaknesses and flaws in combat. Even so, the three of them would challenge themselves once a day. Buddha Nanwu sat below Chuzan and pressed his palms together as he listened to Chuzan's Buddhist scriptures. Chuzan passed some of the Buddhist scriptures to Buddha Nanwu, allowing him to cultivate on his own and comprehend new Buddhist Dharma divine abilities. The Buddhist Dharma is boundless. You can comprehend it on your own. Give the trial mystic realm a go. You should also try it out to familiarize yourself with Buddhist Dharma divine abilities, Chuzan said. Yes, Buddha. Buddha Nanwu bowed respectfully and entered the pocket dimension. He used to be a demon, and he cultivated the techniques and secret arts of the demon race. Now, even though he had become a Buddha, he had never used any of his Buddhist techniques. It just so happened that he could temper himself in the trial mystic realm. Both Dingyu and Wang Luo were very curious about Buddha Nanwu. He possessed a power that they had never heard of before. Their master said that Buddha Nanwu walked a different Tao from them, even though they were all from the same sect. Hence, the two of them called Buddha Nanwu, senior brother Buddha. Buddha Nanwu entered the trial mystic realm, and Dingyu and Wang Luo ran inside to watch. Su Shaner also went in to watch. They were very curious about Buddha Nanwu's strength. Just how strong was he? Amitabha. Buddha Nanwu chanted the name of Buddha. He pushed his palms forward, and Buddhist light blossomed from within. In an instant, countless palms struck out like an endless torrent, instantly shattering the target of the trial, an 8th-level heaven realm demon. So strong. Dingyu and the other two were shocked. Su Shaner could sense Buddha Nanwu's strength. When he attacked, it felt like heaven's might. From this, she realized that he was a heaven realm expert. Buddha Nanwu continued to train in the trial mystic realm. However, Su Shaner and the other two would not be able to watch the rest of the trials. Chuzan silently watched as Buddha Nanwu underwent the trials. As the trials progressed, he became more and more familiar with the use of Buddhist Dharma. His strength was also increasing. It was worth mentioning that the Buddha Nanwu's main trial opponents were all simulated demon race experts. He had chosen to have his opponents simulated as demon race experts. Was he preparing to return to the demon zone and convert the demon race? After the fight in the Asura ancient land ended, he would allow Buddha Nanwu to return to the demon zone and become the supporter behind the Moluantian. He would spread the Buddhist Dharma and convert the demon race into Buddhas. Chuzan hatched a plan in his heart. Half a year later, Dingyu's cultivation had finally reached its limit. His foundation was sturdy enough. It was time for him to break through to the Emperor realm. He sat cross-legged in the universe space and was preparing to break through. Meanwhile, Su Shaner was breaking through to the second level of the Emperor realm. Chapter 140, Evil Warding Immortal Scripture. To Dingyu, breaking through to the Emperor realm was simply par for the course. Whether it was accumulation, foundation, or comprehension, he had achieved all of the necessary requirements. Your disciple Dingyu, under your guidance, cultivated at a godly speed and broke through to the Emperor realm. You have been rewarded with 100 years worth of cultivation. After Dingyu broke through, the system's reward arrived, which Chuzan promptly received. After his cultivation was boosted by 100 years, his strength improved again, inching closer to the heaven realm. As expected, the reward was not enough for him to break through to the heaven realm. Chuzan's current cultivation could be considered the half-step heaven realm. Next, he would have to depend on the reward he received from Wang Luo's reward from breaking through to the Emperor realm. Chuzan estimated that, even after Wang Luo broke through, it would not be enough for him to break through to the heaven realm. In the end, cultivation was still dependent on oneself. Thinking this, Chuzan increased the time he spent on cultivation. At his level, his cultivation speed was not as fast as when he was below the Emperor realm, breaking through a small realm every few days. One should not look at how close he was to reaching the heaven realm. If he relied solely on his own cultivation, it would take him about 10 years to break through. This was already a godly speed. Reading on Mibo XNO vs L. Com, please. After all, the gap between the Supreme Realm and Heaven Realm was like a natural chasm. Countless geniuses were stuck at this stage. Eventually, their lifespan was exhausted and they turned to dust. Half a year after Dingyu broke through to the Emperor Realm, Wang Luo had also reached the limits of his Truth Realm cultivation. He was about to break through to the Emperor Realm. Inside the universe space, Wang Luo was seated cross-legged. A flame floated above his head. Heavenly Void Fire. Following the appearance of the Heavenly Void Fire, Wang Luo's entire body seemed to transform itself into flames in an instant. Chuzan watched for a while before turning his attention elsewhere. He was busy with his own cultivation. He estimated that the 100-year cultivation boost reward would not be sufficient for him to break through to the heaven realm. It was as he expected. Your disciple Wang Luo, under your guidance, cultivated at a godly speed and broke through to the emperor realm. You have been rewarded with 100 years worth of cultivation. He received the reward, and 100 years worth of cultivation was instilled into his body. His strength began to slowly increase. He was another step closer to the heaven realm. However, he did not break through to the heaven realm. His original timeline to break through to the heaven realm was 10 years, by relying on his own cultivation, but after receiving this cultivation boost reward, it was reduced to 5 years. Whether he could break through to the heaven realm before the 10-year seclusion milestone would now depend on Chu Pingfan. Or, perhaps he could trigger the system's cultivation boost reward elsewhere. He could use the myriad heavenly mirror and do his best to strengthen Mo Luantian's cultivation. Chu Zan felt that the one most likely to trigger the system's reward within this period of time was the Mo Luantian. Mo Luantian's strength had already risen to the 6th level of the truth realm. From this, it could be seen that his talent was extraordinary. He was indeed worthy of being one of the children of fate of the demon zone. Every once in a while, Chu Zan would connect to Mo Luantian and preach Buddhist scriptures to him. He would also solve the latter's cultivation problems. According to the Buddhist precepts, one should not eat meat and fish, but Chu Zan did not put any restrictions on eating meat and fish. He had not taken the Buddhist sect he created very seriously. Although Mo Luantian was more serious, and seemed to be a serious monk, for some reason, Chu Zan felt that Mo Luantian would one day go astray. He had already tried his best to control himself and stop deceiving Mo Luantian. However, when he first met Mo Luantian, he had spouted a lot of nonsense. Every time he saw Mo Luantian, he could not help but feel that the latter had a bit of a demonic nature. Moreover, Mo Luantian actually liked to wear white monk robes. He changed the color of the monk robe that Chu Zan had given him back then into white. His white monk robes were spotless. His bald head was shiny, and his features were somewhat delicate. Master, can I change the staff into a saber? Chu Zan was stunned. He wanted to change the staff into a saber. Had Mo Luantian been provoked to the point of wanting to kill someone? Why do you want to change it into a saber? Master, I often feel that the greed of the world is too great, and then I suddenly had an epiphany. I want to forge a saber of discipline. Chu Zan raised his eyebrows. Mo Luantian seemed to be very talented in Buddhism. He had an epiphany just like that. I am glad that you had such an epiphany. I will give you a saber of discipline. Chu Zan took out a heavenly saber and refined it. He added some new functions and turned it into a saber of discipline. He then transferred the saber of discipline to Mo Luantian. Thank you, Master. Mo Luantian bowed with his palms clasped together, and then took the saber of discipline. Chu Zan ended the connection with Mo Luantian. He did not know when this new disciple of his would trigger the system reward, but he had a feeling it would not take too long. He then started thinking about what else he could do to trigger the system's reward. However, he did not consider Qin Ying. Ever since he gave him the Tyrant Dragon Body technique to him last time, Chu Zan had not contacted him again. After all, Qin Ying was just an in-name disciple, so he could not pay too much attention to him. Most importantly, he was afraid that Qin Ying would ask him for a way to become a man. He could not change his gender, and he could not find a way for him to circumvent the Great Tao. If he could not do so, would it not be rather embarrassing on his part as an exalted master? Therefore, Chu Zan would not contact Qin Ying for the time being. Moreover, he would feel a little uncomfortable if Qin Ying turned back into a fierce man. Ren Cheng still needed time to break through to the divine realm. It was impossible for him to do so in 3 to 5 years. It was the same for Buddha Nanwu. Chu Zan suddenly thought about the lucky mystic realm that he had received as a reward for taking in Mo Luantian. It had not been set up yet. If he set it up now, who knew when someone with great luck would enter the lucky mystic realm and trigger the system's reward? He decided to make full use of the lucky mystic realm. Chu Zan thought long and hard about what kind of opportunities he should put inside it. Cultivation techniques were indispensable. He also needed other natural treasures and divine artifacts. Without such things, how could it be called a lucky mystic realm? Chu Zan was conflicted about which cultivation technique he should put inside the lucky mystic realm. He had countless cultivation techniques and secret techniques, and the lowest one he considered putting in was a divine technique. From his perspective, a fortuitous encounter was only worth it if it allowed the person to cultivate to the divine realm. In fact, he felt that he should even place a cultivation technique that was above a divine technique. Chuzan thought for a moment and took out a small booklet. He then jotted down a cultivation technique using the blessing of the Sage Master's halo. Suddenly, a mischievous thought appeared in his mind. Let's add a little something, he muttered to himself. He closed his eyes slightly and began to deduce a new cultivation technique based on the foundation of this cultivation technique, using his imagination. The advantage of mastering a cultivation technique and secret technique was that one could piece together an altogether new cultivation technique using one's own ideas and imagination. After jotting down the cultivation technique and secret technique, he then used a mysterious method to seal the writings. One would need to follow the requirements to open the cultivation technique. He gave the cultivation technique a name and wrote it on the cover. Evil warding immortal scripture. On the second page of the booklet, Chuzan wrote a few words in large print: if you want to practice this technique, use your sword to castrate yourself. At the bottom left corner of the same page, he wrote in small print: cut off the root of your thoughts, gather your willpower, and cultivate the ultimate technique. Looking at those large words on the secret manual, Chuzan muttered, no one should be so stupid as to cut off their own thing after seeing this page, right? Leaving a blank page, he wrote on the third page, if you don't self-castrate, you can still successfully cultivate this technique. In the lower left corner, he added a few words to explain, if you don't go through the secular world, how can you temper your state of mind? All of the powerful people in the ancient world have tempered themselves. If you sever your roots and sever your desires to cultivate this technique, then you are a coward. Chuzan thought for a moment and wrote on the fourth page, if you severed your roots, you are a coward and immensely stupid, but if you did not, your mind is whole, and you will definitely accomplish great things. On the fifth page, he wrote, kowtow. Kowtow 3 times and the technique will appear. After he finished writing the secret manual, Chuzan could not help but mutter, there won't be anyone who would cut off their thing after reading the first page, right? Nah, no way.